the end of the adventure today. So if you guys need to get up earlier, no problem. We can take a quick break, but there will be one break probably about halfway through the adventure.
That
All right.
sounds good to me. All right.
That being said, let's go ahead and begin. So go ahead and start your streaming as you wish.
I already got it going.
Alrighty, so for today's adventure, you guys will be, a little bit of background, you guys will be playing in the Mages Guild of Silverwolf, which is actually an area that was written by my father back when he played 2nd edition D&D. There's a little bit of background to it, which I'm going to start off by reading. First, let's go ahead and establish a couple character things. Let's see. I know one of you guys is playing a sorcerer, and I think we also have a ranger and a fighter, correct?
I am a ranger, yes.
Yeah, and I'm
Alrighty.
a fighter.
Yeah, I'm a sorcerer.
And so let's see. Let's go ahead and do some character introductions. And Bran, let's go ahead and start with you.
Okay. Well, I'm a half-elf sorcerer with a noble background. Should I go over like personality traits and stuff?
No, just give a brief little summary of what you're about. It doesn't have to be anything specific. Just give me one neat thing about your character.
Okay. Well, I'm from a noble background. I take great pains to always look my best and follow the latest fashions. Walking around in my fine clothes.
All right, let's go. Vailmon. Vailmon?
Valamon, I think. I use a random
Got it.
generator for it. All right, I am playing a tiefling ranger. So the idea, and I have a sage background. The idea behind my character is that they lived in a city I was non-specific about because I don't really know what setting this is in, so I didn't really make one specific. But as a tiefling, people sometimes don't regard them highly, so my character is sort of shunned and outcast. My character is really into alchemy. They like playing with plants and picking them up and making potions, and I'm just all about sampling all of the parts of nature to figure out all the effects it can have on the body. And if I don't know what something does, I like to test it on myself to figure it out.
Neat. And let's see, Vanek. What you got?
All right, so I'm just a human fighter, but my background is a guild artisan, so I'm a smith. So I've tried to learn from the dwarves, the elves, and now that I've kind of got a lot of proficiency, I'm just traveling to see if I can learn any new technique. Kind of always keeping an eye out for for something extra that I could add to my.
Awesome. That's great to hear. So I'm going to do a little bit of reading really quickly, and I'm going to have you guys thinking of why you would be why you'd be traveling to the Mages Guild of Silverwolf as we start. And so just go ahead and keep that in the back of your head. So for Silverwolf, it's a very magical city. In fact, the entire realm is fairly magical. However, Silverwolf in particular is extremely practiced in the arcane. There's a lot of crazy things that happen in Silverwolf, a lot of loose magic. I don't want to say magic is abused, but it definitely probably should be toned back a bit. But that's the norm for Silverwolf. Perhaps you came here to learn how to incorporate magic into your smithing, Vanek. Vailmon, finding alchemists here and all sorts of strange and interesting plants would absolutely be within the realm of possibility. However, Bran, I'm going to go ahead and say that you started here. I'm going to say that you were practicing as a novice sorcerer at the Mages Guild. So a couple of things about the Mages Guild. We're going to go over a little bit of characters here. And the Mages Guild was founded by a man named Magnus Elderwing. He's a weathered old man with a perpetual smile. His years of adventuring show in his wise eyes and old scars. Now that he's paid his dues, he is greatly enjoying a soft life. He's always had a pleasant word for friends, which is almost everyone. He's a very sociable man, And Bran, you would have already met him, being a student of the Mages Guild. He kind of bounces around, but he's not someone that you would know on an extremely personal basis. And we're just going to go ahead and introduce one other person now, which is one of the guild residents who's also captain of the guard, whose name is Walter Brock. Walter's a solid man with skin like tanned leather. He is a formidable opponent even in his own age. He's an extremely talented fighter. Having recently retired from mercenary command work, he has become a permanent resident of the guild. Walter has taken the suite just downstairs from that of Magnus. Walt is a close friend of Magnus and can often be found in his company. Though he prefers a stout ale, he regularly enjoys brandy during conversations in Magnus's sitting room. So let's go ahead and get this kicked off. So, Bran, you would have already been within the Mages Guild, and perhaps you're coming in this morning from going out into the city to purchase something. However, the other two of you find yourself entering the Mages Guild for personal reasons. It's not uncommon for people visiting Silverwolf to check out the Mages Guild for an afternoon. It's a very open and public facility, so there's a number of reasons why you could find yourself coming here. Maybe it's because it's got one of the largest libraries within the realm. Maybe it's to go and learn more about alchemy, or maybe it's just to go look around. Maybe you like the architecture. So why do you think you would be here?
Well, I mean, I know why I'm here, and it's definitely because I want to know. I want to gain more knowledge about what magical plants and are around in this area and what you can do with them for my alchemy purposes.
What about you, Vanek?
And I would say that I'm here to kind of learn how to add like magical enchantments or properties to the weapons and armor I create. So I'm just kind of seeing how that process is done.
Alrighty. And Bran. So, being a resident of the Mages Guild, you're going to know a lot of people in here, and you're going to have a little bit more insight to the area. You're going to know the ins and outs of the buildings and such. But, I mean, for obvious reasons, you're most likely here to be practicing in the arcane. So, the three of you find yourselves kind of entering the Mages Guild at the same time. You don't necessarily know each other, per se, but you find yourselves entering at the same time. So, where we're going to be starting is towards the top of the map here. And it's going to be in this room right here.
Okay.
The main entrance is also a store. It is a 30 by 20 foot room which boasts grand double oaken doors in the center of the north and south walls, serving as the main entrance to the guild. The west side of the room is lined with shelves from floor to ceiling displaying the majority of wares for sale. Separated from the rest of the room is by a 17-foot sales counter is a sales desk that is operated by the store's clerk, a young woman who, Bran, you would know as Robin. The more valuable stock is displayed in this area out of reach of the public. And as you guys walk in, you see this young woman behind the desk who is kind of in a heated discussion with an older gentleman who is pointing at her and kind of slinging insults. And on the counter before him is this sword which almost radiates this inky blackness. And he picks it up and shows it to her once again and slams it down on the desk and says, "In what world is it not your job to purchase magical items? I thought that this was the Mages Guild of Silverwolf, and you're telling me that you can't purchase this." She looks a bit bemused as he slings this discussion, and she says, "I'm sorry, Clyde, I simply can't. I mean, do you know how many people I would have to run this sword by? You know as well as I do that chances that it's probably cursed." And they kind of go on arguing for a little bit here. Towards the southern center of the room is also a cat. For the record, you're not cats, by the way. You're just marked by cats because...
Man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No cat mechanics today, but I just ran it for tokens. So, what are you all going to be doing as you walk in?
Well, I'm looking around. I I'm not all that concerned with what's happening at the counter here. I'm just sort of looking around for anything that might constitute stuff that could be used in alchemy. I don't know whether I see anything that jumps out at me right away.
The entire left wall is mostly potions of all sizes, colors, all sorts of different things. You recognize some of them to be kind of basic objects like potions of healing. Some of them, though, you look at them and they almost look as if a galaxy has been placed within a bottle. They shine, they shimmer, and colors swirl about, and you would have no idea, most likely, what these potions serve to, as what their function will be. Some of them are in. Let's see. Do you speak Elvish by chance?
I believe I do. Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely read that some of them are, like I said, basic potions of healing. There's a couple definitely towards the upper shelves that are potions of flying and minor invisibility, and up towards the top shelf where the really extravagant looking ones are. You can't quite make out what they say. They're actually written in a magical script.
All right. Well, I'm engrossed by this. This is interesting to me. I don't care what's happening at the counter. I didn't even notice the other two people walk into the store with me. This is what I'm staring at.
What about the other two of you?
Alright, so I walk in, and there's a little bit of dirt on my shoes, so I cast prestidigitation, kind of clean myself off. And I walk towards the counter, and I say, "Hello, Robin. What seems to be the problem here?"
So for a little bit of context, Robin is an average-looking girl of 19 years. She's generally strong-willed, however, and you can tell that by this discussion, but she's absolutely a kind soul. And she looks at you as you approach the counter, and she gives you kind of this wicked grin. And before she can say anything, the man turns to the side and he says, "She won't buy any of my wares is what the problem is. I've been bringing items to this shop for 4 times her life, and yet she thinks that she has the authority to tell me, no, these items are cursed, as if she would know. I've been practicing here for eons now." She looks back at him and shrugs her shoulders, kind of carefree, and she says, "A cursed item is a cursed item, and last I checked, something as blatant as a black sword was most likely cursed." He kind of gives a stiff groan and starts debating with her once again of how he would know what is cursed and how she would not.
So while this conversation's going on, I'm just going to kind of walk up to the counter, and I'm going to ignore both of the people arguing and just kind of stare at the sword, just try to figure it out, look at it, examine how it was made, and see if I can, ascertain whether or not it's cursed myself.
You know what? Let's see. Go ahead and give me an Arcana check.
Hey.
Yeah. So looking
bad
at
for a
this,
blacksmith.
Not bad for -1.
looking at this blade, you immediately. It doesn't take much of your background of blacksmithing, but you immediately realize that this blade was actually formed by tieflings of the Underdark. It is definitely an odd-looking blade. From top to bottom, it is a jet black. However, the blade is kind of curved in a just a little bit of an S-curved fashion. The entire blade is adorned with just these engraved glowing red, they look like teardrops, but you would interpret them as blood. You see a little bit of this just magical aura that does look to be seeping out of it, like just this inky blackness of shadow, and chances are you could ascertain that something with this weapon is not right.
Okay. And, again, I'm just kind of ignoring the clerk and the customer, and I'm still just staring at the blade, not really mentioning anything about it.
Sure. As you're actually standing at the counter, you feel the pain of sharp claws climbing up the back of your leg. And within a few moments of this kind of squirming about, you realize that you now have a cat on your shoulder. And it kind of yowls at you and licks the side of your face.
Whose cat is this over here?
The gentleman beside you kind of gives a groan and looks at the cat and he says, "My goodness, that is my cat. I apologize." And he takes the cat and he puts it into the hood of his cloak, and it promptly jumps back onto your shoulder.
Sorry. I must have food or some scent on me. I'm not sure why he keeps coming to me, and I try to hand him back.
The man peers at you as you try to hand back this cat, and as he takes the cat from your hands, the cat actually keeps a grasp of your cloak or your bracers with its claws, as if it doesn't want to leave you. And he says, "Thank you very much," and he pulls the cat off of your cloak and puts it back into the hood of his cloak, and kind of cinches his cloak up, not tying it, but he tries to basically entrap this cat in the hood of his cloak, and he goes back to his discussion. Bran, what have you been doing during this time?
Well, I guess what I have to do an Arcana check myself, since Panic never said anything about when he inspected the dagger.
Basically,
See if I think it's cursed.
It's pretty obviously something with this blade is
well, I guess
off.
Maybe I'll ask gentleman at the counter where this dagger came from.
He looks at you with this cat kind of writhing within his hood, and he holds up the blade and swings it almost a little too close to you as he whirls around to show it to you. And he says, "Well, I purchased it from an Underdark trader, of course. Traded? It was acquired in a fair fashion from an Underdark trader."
Can I check to see if he's lying?
Yeah, go ahead and roll an insight check.
Alright.
And as his blade is kind of swung through the air, just this trail of shadowy residue also kind of it does follow the blade. It's actually kind of neat to see, but at the same time a little bit terrifying. Yeah, you can tell that he may be a little bit dishonest in the acquisition of it, but he's by no means is he outright lying to you. And as he kind of whirls it around, I'm gonna need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no, he whirls it around, and you're anticipating just every motion of this blade. And as he's whirling it around, you notice the cat kind of escape out of the back of his hood, and the cat runs and goes out the door into the inner courtyard and out of your sight.
Oh, that was strange. And I asked him why he's trying to sell this blade.
He looks at you and he says, "What was strange? The blade?"
The cat darting
The
behind me.
cat, and he kind of pats the back of his cloak, and he looks really frantically, kind of trying to look into his hood, and he looks around the floor and peers around the building and says, "Oh no. Where did it go?" Someone, where did the cat go? Did anyone see where it went?
Did I see where it went? I think I sort of probably around the time that he starts swinging it around. I probably around the time that the cat started crawling on our blacksmith friend, I've probably turned around and sort of started taking notice. Did I see what happened?
Yeah, you probably would have seen where the cat went. This guy was making an
It went out
awful
to the
commotion.
courtyard?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw. I pipe up. I'm like, yeah, I saw it. It went out the door.
This gentleman actually, as you say that, goes up to you and grabs you by your tunic and shakes you a little bit. And he says, "You have to get that cat back. By all means, you must retrieve this cat. You do not understand the gravity of what's going on here."
I respond with, what do I look like? The fire department to you? Go find your own fucking cat.
He looks at you and he kind of turns his head to one side as he peers to you and he says, "I don't have the time to retrieve this cat. I need you to get it. In fact, you know what? I'll even offer you a reward just as a kind gesture. If you can bring back this cat to me, then I will pay you in due."
And I sort of shrug what is that supposed to mean? What are you offering?
Go ahead and make a persuasion check.
That is a 9 plus 1, so 10.
He looks at you and he says, "I'll offer you 100 gold to retrieve this cat."
I look back up. Is there any price tags on some of the bottles on the wall? Is there did I see anything that might be pretty cool that I might be able to get with 100 gold coins?
Yes, there's absolutely there's absolutely things within your price range. In fact, you would generally know, the price of a general potion of healing, and it's actually half here what it would be elsewhere. Even some of the more exotic potions are easily within the 100 to 150 gold range. As you actually look at the shelf more, you see that a lot of these bottles are fairly dusty and that they've probably been sitting here stocked for a while. So it's probably more of a matter of getting them off the shelves than making a solid profit on them.
All right, so I'm interested now. I like the idea of getting my hands on one of these potions with a cooler effect. I don't care so much for the potion of healing because that's boring to me. I want some of the cool shit. So I'm like, all right, my interest is piqued. I'm like, all right, I'll take a look for your cat.
He looks at the other two of you, being Bran and Vanek, and he says, "The two of you, the same offer applies. If you bring back my cat, I will give you each 100 gold. I need it back immediately. I cannot understate how important this is." And he, thinking that he's made his point, kind of walks back to the counter and starts debating with Robin again.
Well, I guess I'm gonna start making my way towards the door, so see if I can figure out what's going on. Wander out to the courtyard, see if I can see the cat.
100 gold is 100 gold. I'm on.
Go ahead and make me a perception check, please. Actually, let's make an investigation. I'm sorry.
Alright, that's 14 plus 0, I think, for me. Or no, plus 0 on investigation.
So as you look through the courtyard, you see just the number of trees and animal-shaped shrubbery, basically as you see on the map. It's also full of students. In fact, the number of students that I put on the map is underwhelming, simply because it would have lagged the living heck out of us.
Okay.
But there are students all throughout this courtyard. It does come to mind that this is about the beginning of the spring term. So you have a lot of people in novice robes kind of wandering around, some of them carrying far too many books to be safe. Definitely not OSHA-approved book carrying. They're kind of wandering about the courtyard, but the problem is that you don't see a cat anywhere.
Do I see any cool plants?
Yeah, you absolutely do see cool plants. There are these kind of just burnt orange bushes on the interior walls of the Mages Guild, and the animal topiaries actually definitely catch your eye almost immediately.
I'm sorry, the what catch my eye immediately?
The animal-shaped
Okay.
bushes.
I don't really care so much about the shape of the bushes. I'm more looking for any plants that I think might have like properties I can use in my alchemy. So I probably like actually probably start wandering over towards the bushes to see A, if I can see a cat in there, and B, if I can grab like some flowers off these bushes that I might be able to use later. Do I recognize like the bushes like as like do I know what kind of bushes they are, or whether or not they have magical properties at all?
Go ahead and roll me a nature check. Also, as you were walking past the twin dolphins, you did notice that there were also flowers on those.
That's an 18 plus 2, so that's a 20.
All right, give me one moment here.
I did warn you I was going to do this. I'm sorry if you didn't put that much
Oh,
thought
no,
into
no,
your
no.
bushes.
No, trust me, this place is written out well. The bushes are actually, you recognize them to be ember scorch. They do flower only for just in the beginning of the morning as the sun starts to hit them. And that's absolutely proper timing. These flowers are in full bloom just for the morning. You actually do recall hearing that these flowers have a property, when mixed properly into potions, of creating a bit of heat resistance for the consumer.
Alright, so I'm grabbing some of those flowers.
Sure, go ahead and mark them down for me. The other two of you, what are you looking for or at?
What was the flower called? Ember what?
Ember scorch.
I was gonna say grab 5. I don't know.
All right. And as I walk out the door, I'm going to notice this student here by the entrance, and I'm just going to kind of walk up and ask if they've seen a cat run by here.
He looks at you and his jaw drops aghast, and he says, "My God, a talking cat!" No, he looks at you, and he says, "No, sir, a cat in the No, I haven't seen a cat walk through the courtyard at all. I don't know. No, not at all."
I mean, it came right by here. I mean, you must have seen it. It would have run straight by you.
He kind of turns around and looks towards the buildings around the courtyard as you had been looking earlier, and he says, "I don't see a cat. I didn't notice a cat. Are you sure you're looking for a cat? I guess I should take your word for it, but I haven't seen one."
All right. I guess you must have missed it then. So I'm just gonna kind of walk throughout the courtyard here and see if I can observe any cat.
Go ahead and give me a perception check while you do that, and go ahead. Go ahead, Bran. 15.
Okay.
Cool.
As I overhear their conversation, I look over towards Vanek and say that, well, if there was something strange going on in this place, I'm sure the captain of the guard would know. His name's Walter Brock. Maybe we could find him, ask him if he's seen any cat or any strange activity.
That is a good point. I'm sure he may know what's up.
As you mentioned that, you actually realize that Walter Brock is just south of you, outside the doors to the main building. At the same time, Vanek, you notice a set of paw prints which runs just between the twin dolphins here, and runs in a southwestern direction.
So, like heading down here?
Yeah, basically straight down there, and it actually goes towards the... Sorry, I know that the door is kind of hard to see on this building, but
I got it.
just towards that door. Also, were you looking at the dolphins? Wow, they were discussing this.
You said there was some interesting plants on the dolphins before?
Yes, so
I'm absolutely looking at this.
As you look at these bushes, they are absolutely littered with flowers and berries. Both of these bushes, they actually have different colored flowers and berries each, respectively. Um, Go ahead and roll me another nature check.
18 plus 2, 20.
Holy cow! Yeah, you actually recognize these berries from your time out in, just kind of out in the wild, and you recognize that the dolphins boast different fruit each. One of which, in kind of wives' tales, is known to make their children smarter. The other to make them wiser.
I mean, I'm grabbing a handful of each if I can manage it.
Absolutely.
I look around. Does it appear that anyone cares that I'm taking these like plants? Like I'm like.
No, in fact, as you go from the top dolphin to the bottom dolphin, there's actually a student on the other side that's in a set of alchemist robes, who is here with a small hand basket gathering the same. And as you pluck these berries and take some of the flowers, you realize that they're actually sprouting back almost immediately. You can visually just witness the growth of these flowers as they begin to bud, and they begin to actually turn into flowers.
All right. Seeing this and seeing that like this is like a renewing resource, I grab like 2 of the berries. I grab 1 berry from each thing and pop them into my mouth and eat them.
Your head actually feels a little bit tingly. You definitely do seem to be in a clearer state of mind.
Okay. I'll leave. If I saw the cat prints there, I didn't care. I was more concerned about this. But yeah, that's what I'm up to right now.
What of the other 2 of you?
So I'm gonna see these paw prints, and I'm gonna turn to Bran and be like, "Oh, wait a second. Actually, I think I see some prints here. I'm gonna kind of make my way towards these dolphins."
Yeah, you see the prints go straight through in between the dolphins, kind of towards the southwest here. Shoot, give me a moment. Yeah, Bran, you actually realize the building that these are running into as the dining hall.
As these 2 kind of wander over, I sort of like pick my head up and I'm like, oh, the thing we're doing, and I think I start following them.
The local fire department.
So I'm also going to see him eat a few of these berries, and kind of realize it's been a minute since I've ate. Haven't even really had breakfast yet since we've been making our way to the tower. So I'm just going to pop a few in my mouth as well.
How many are you eating, just out of curiosity?
I'm just going to grab like a small handful, so probably like 3 to 4.
Are you just throwing them in your mouth, or are you kind of taking your
Popping
time?
them in. I mean, I think I saw him eat 1 or 2, so I'm like, oh, sounds pretty tasty. Just some berries,
So as you get to the 3rd and the 4th, at first you start to feel just pretty sharp mentally, and then you just get this raging headache for a moment. It feels like essentially the worst hangover you've ever received. The sunlight outside just immediately starts to hurt your eyes, but within about a minute, the symptoms subside.
I just want to say, I saw this happening, and instead of saying anything about my magical berries, I'm instantly curious to see what happens to him. I don't tell him about the magical properties of the berries, I just want to watch what happens to him as he eats them.
You basically, you see his eyes dilate a little bit, not too much. They just dilate. He definitely becomes photophobic for a moment, and he just looks like a guy with just this horrible migraine for a minute. But as quick as it happened, he's back to normal.
All right, I think I asked him like, "Hey, how do those berries make you feel?"
Well, kind of give me a bit of a headache. I think maybe it's just a little too bright out here. I don't know, angle of the sun or something. But honestly, I'm still hungry. Didn't really hit the spot. Didn't really do it
You
for
see any
me.
cool colors or shit?
No, I mean,
Okay.
couldn't
After
really
that,
couldn't really see much
I
of
sort of mumble to myself, and I'm like, I don't know about these, and I sort of turn my eyes away and start thinking.
Where are we going?
Alright. Well, I kind of ignore the berry eating, and I see those paws leading towards the dining hall, I believe you said.
Correct. That'll be this building over here.
And I just start walking that way to see if maybe the cat's in there, or if he's not. Being a resident here, I know that Walter Brock enjoys his brandy, so maybe I could obtain some of that and kind of loosen him up to ask him if he's seen any strange activity.
And I'm just sort of following these two. Like, I see him walking away, and I'm just sort of like lost in thought. I'm just sort of like eyes forward, barely seeing anything, just sort of following him blindly. I don't.
So, just so you guys know, Walter is over here at the moment, but I'm going to go ahead and say that you guys move into the dining hall. Let's see. Give me one moment here. I'm juggling paperwork. Alrighty, the dining hall. This large room is sparsely furnished with only 4 large tables, benches in fact, and a few chairs. A young lady from a nearby inn visits this room twice a day, as you would know, Bran, at lunch and dinner times to deliver meals ordered by resident guild members. And it's kind of interesting that she's here in the morning because she walks around with a cart of pastries. She kind of goes and puts plates down on the table, right beside some plates of sausage and eggs. There's fruit on the table, all sorts of stuff. But there's also a number of students that are here for breakfast as well. Bran, you recognize this girl as Kira, who is she's a sweet and attractive girl. She's very, very scarcely serious. She's awful pretty. She's pretty, and she's a generally giggly person.
All right. Well, first when I walk in the room, can I just, I guess, use perception to see if I notice any trails from the cat?
Yeah, go ahead and roll me a perception check. So, amusingly enough, you don't see a cat. You see a couple little muddy paw prints at the entrance to the door, so the cat is definitely here somewhere. But you don't see a cat. You even go as far as to recognize that some of these students, as you're sitting and enjoying their breakfast, are kind of looking down at their feet periodically as if something was disturbing them. But they look back up after just a second of investigation. But you do not see a cat here.
All right. Which one's Kira?
Woman in the south center room of the room.
All right. I approach Kira and greet her and ask her if she's seen a cat run in here.
She looks at you and she smiles and she says, "Oh, morning, Bran. But no, I haven't seen a cat." In fact, she kind of looks down at the cart and looks at the bottom of the cart and says, "Nope, no cat. No cat here. No cat for breakfast. Although, I guess it would be kind of fun to feed a cat a pastry. I feel like that'd be pretty cute." So you guys all kind of approach. She holds up
I think I see the pastries. I'm like, hey, what kind of pastries are those?
There's all sorts of shapes, sizes. They're topped all differently. Silver Wolf is actually fairly well known also for its pastries. And they're free to take from the cart. She offers them to you as you approach, but some of these are just absolutely monstrous too, like the size of your head pastries, not basically a cake-sized donut per se.
Well, I think I just grab a normal sized pastries and I quickly like pipe up and I'm like, I'm going, hey, anyone seen a cat?
You actually do this, and as you say this, everyone kind of looks up at you as if you're crazy. A cat within the dining hall? Who would bring their pet to the dining hall? And they kind of look at you and shake their head a little bit and go back to their food. No later do they start looking down at their feet again.
I'm gonna grab one of the giant pastries. Finally, something solid to eat. Grab it, go over to the table, sit down, and start eating.
Kind of under the table at their feet. And go ahead and...
Can I make like an insight check to see if I can figure out, like, do I think there's anything weird about how these people are acting?
I'm not even going to make you roll for it. It's basically just, if you were to walk onto a college campus at 6 a.m., it's not that they're acting any more weird than a standard college student. It's kind of drowsiness in the morning trying to get food. It's not like they're being suspicious. Okay. They're just kind of investigating under the tables. Let's see. Go ahead and add that pastry to your character sheet if you want.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna the one I grab is probably gonna be gone by the time we walk out the door, so I'm not gonna bother.
I was gonna say Vanix is about the size of a wheel of cheese. It's pretty big. This is like a two-handed pastry.
Yeah, it's gonna be gone too.
Well, actually, moment of lucidity. Do I see any pastries on there that might look appealing to a cat? Like, do I see anything like that might be like meaty or fishy, which is a weird thing for a pastry? But
go ahead and actually roll me an animal handling check.
Okay. Am I proficient in that? I'm not. 12 plus 2, 14.
You actually know that a lot of cats will eat bread outright. A lot of them will just eat pastries, plain and simple.
Okay, I pocket an extra one in case I get hungry later or I think I can bake the cat.
Sure.
Well, I also grab a pastry, and I thank Kira and ask her if I could purchase some brandy.
She looks at you and kind of giggles a bit, and she says, "There's no brandy here for breakfast. That would be irresponsible of me to serve." And as you ask her this cat goes and kind of nudges against your leg out from the bottom of this table, hops up on the table, and runs, just dashes along this table, knocking food off onto students, hops to the next table, knocks all the food off of that, and jumps out the window on the northeastern corner.
I think I just bolt after it.
And it's gone. Okay.
Can I get out through this window too, do you think?
You could go through the window.
I'm going through the window.
Okay, give me an acrobatics check.
That's an 18 plus 2, 20.
So you go and kind of run along this wall and just drag your hand along the wall, and as soon as you get to this open window, just grab hold of the windowsill and just fling yourself through the window. You come to a skidding stop outside the window. You actually find yourself in a little bit of mud, just overwatered grass.
Okay.
You don't fall or anything, but as you do, you just see this cat run through these large doors to the east.
I mean, I don't see any reason why I would stop running. I'm probably sprinting towards these doors to see if I can see the cat once I get to the door.
Okay, hold that thought. What are the other two of you doing?
I start making my way towards the door to go out towards where I think the cat is going.
Oh, I guess we're on the move. I'm going to try to gather up what little bit is left of my pastry, kind of look to Kira and tell her thanks, and start heading out the door.
Alrighty, who ate pastries?
I ate pastry.
I did.
Okay, I need you to each roll 1d8, please.
Okay. 8.
8.
Very nice. You each add 8 temporary hit points to
No.
your... In fact, Vanek, go ahead and give me another d8 because you took an extremely large pastry.
7.
Holy shit.
Okay, you're going to add 15 to your temporary hit points, which I have a feeling is more than your hit points you already have, which is kind of amazing.
It is, yeah.
Hey, solid rolls. And you guys, for lack of a better description, you guys almost feel physically fortified after consuming these pastries and letting them digest for a minute.
Assuming I
Well,
didn't puke mine up while I was jumping out the window and sprinting after cats.
No, I'd stay
grabbed
down.
a,
These are tasty.
I grabbed a pastry, but I didn't eat it yet. But suddenly I feel the urge to eat my pastry.
Go for it.
Amy.
Give me a D8. What type of pastry did you grab? A large one, a small one?
Are there like medium size?
Yeah, go ahead and give
I'll
me
just-
a D8.
Okay. Oh.
All right, go ahead and add 3 to your
Okay.
max hit point. So as you go running towards these great doors over here, you're actually stopped by this large man. He's actually kind of old. He's probably within his mid-70s, and he grabs you quite firmly and stops you at the door, and he just really gruffly says, "What are you doing?"
The cat, it's getting away. The fucking cat. You saw the cat, right?
He looks at you and he arches an eyebrow and he says, "I haven't seen any cat here. And I don't know what you're up
blind.
to.
No one sees this goddamn cat."
You better behave while you're within my Mages Guild." And Bran, as you walk up, he kind of looks over at you and says, "Oh, hello, Bran. Are these two with you?"
Yes. Sorry for the disturbance, but we're all currently looking for this cat. There was a argument at the store desk counter, and there seems to be a strange cat that's entered the guild that nobody else appears to see except us. And
He
we think it ran through these doors right here.
He kind of grins at you, and while I'm talking, go ahead and give me a investigation check for Vailman, and the other two of you a perception check, please. And as he's kind of chatting with you, he gives you just this big old grin, and Vailman, he actually claps you in the back and says, "I'm just playing with you boys. Go ahead and find whatever you need. Just do me a favor and try not to track any mud into the building, please. It's just try to keep it nice."
Okay,
Seeing
that was
our
a 6 on my
alchemy,
investigation check, by the way, just so you know.
where our
Okay.
alchemy friend fell into some mud, I cast prestidigitation and clean him off a little bit.
So, Bran, as you're talking, you actually notice that right in front of Walter's feet are a set of cat prints in kind of this muddied grass that lead just obviously right in through these doors to the building, which you recognize as being the library. As soon as you notice them, he kind of goes, and when he goes to clap Vailman on the shoulder, he just steps right in him and smudges him all over, and they're gone.
I'll ask, Walter, are you sure you haven't seen a cat come this way?
He looks at you and smiles and says, "Honest, lad, I haven't seen a cat at all."
Can I make a check?
Yeah, go ahead and give me an insight check. I mean, he's a nice guy. Go ahead and roll it. Well,
okay.
either way, you probably wouldn't be able to tell, but you know him to be a nice guy. He's a genuine. He's a good man.
I'm probably off by like after he stopped me and after this conversation, I probably like sort of backed off a little bit, like turned away and sort of grumbling to myself. I feel like this is a typical thing that people just assume I'm up to no good.
I asked Walter if there's any way that I can, if he can allow my two party members and me to all go through this door here.
He smiles and he says, "Yeah, of course, go on in." And he opens the door up for you. Vailman, as you actually kind of start steaming about this a little bit, you notice that some of the students here are actually tieflings as well. They seem to be acting harmoniously with everyone else in here. You notice that a lot of people do have their hoods up, but tieflings are definitely amongst the general populace of the Mages Guild.
I take that. I note that. And again, I'm sort of following blindly to where these guys are going.
Alrighty. So you guys walk into this library, and it is just packed with people. Imagine just 3 times as many people, maybe even 4 times as I have on here. Entering through the 10-foot high carved double doors, visitors are awed at the quality and immaculate appearance of Silverwolf's third largest library. This room is immediately relaxing and welcoming, with plush, dark green carpet and 15-foot high floor-to-ceiling oak bookcases. The room gives an impression of a silent forest. An oak spiral staircase is in the northwest corner, extending through the ceiling to the upper floors. A long oak counter in the northeast corner provides a workspace for the librarian to maintain his records and to check out books from. I understand that the map is not accurate. I'm sorry, I could not find a green carpet that didn't look like grass.
That's fine.
My bad. Let's see. And Bran, you know the librarian of the Mages Guild to be a man named Dewey Stone. He is actually behind the counter now, kind of in these gray robes with a trailing cloak, and he has his hair tied back into kind of a bun behind his head. A little bit of background on Dewey. Dewey is a quiet man and keeps mostly to himself in his books. When Dewey is not in the library, he can usually be found praying in his room or tending to a small garden besides the library. Dressed daily in his robes with a white cotton tassel tied around his waist, Dewey is diligent in his duties of maintaining the library. Having been trained in theology and clerical skills, Dewey has little interest in the magic-related books that make up the majority of the library. He has, however, seen to it that the reference section on the first floor is very complete, covering every possible topic. You know that he generally doesn't have many friends. He's kind of a shy and isolated guy. However, whenever, sometimes Walter will come in and chat with him whenever he needs a break from watching the courtyard. And he greatly enjoys that. He always seems to be in good spirits when someone's talking with him.
Well,
I'm looking for cat prints.
Go ahead and give me an investigation check.
3.
You see a couple just muddied cat prints entering from the door, heading to the staircase kind of in the northwestern corner, but they actually trail off after a couple feet. You only get a couple cat paw prints. But, I mean, it's kind of going in a southwestern direction from this door.
Okay. Like going towards the stairs? Like over here? Or...
Yeah, it's heading somewhere over in the upper left quadrant of this room.
Well, okay, I guess I would probably just start wandering that way, unless anyone else has a better idea.
I'm just gonna walk up to these students here, and again, kind of theme of the day. Have you guys seen a cat around? Like, there's a few prints by the door where we're kind of, following it in here. Seen anything?
As you approach, you recognize these students are talking about how to find their way to their next class, and it's kind of funny. As you're talking with them, they're holding up just this giant stack of textbooks that extends a full length of their arms, all the way up to their chin. They actually have to kind of hold it down with their chin and talk through their teeth. As you ask, and they go, "I haven't seen a cat. Have you seen a cat?" And they kind of look to each other and said, I haven't seen a cat. And it's not too surprising to you, actually. There's so many people in here that a cat running and kind of weaving in and out of your feet might go unnoticed. It's awful busy. People are going up and down the stairs constantly. There's a huge line that wraps all the way around the room, actually to the stairs from the just lining the wall with students waiting to check out books for this term.
Man, no one has seen this cat. Like, this is crazy. You think at least one person would have seen this cat? And I'm just gonna kind of keep mumbling to myself as I'm walking over to the stairs.
Is the library really quiet?
The bottom floor is pretty quiet. Let me go back. The bottom floor is not very quiet. It's not loud, They keep it to a low grumble. But as you kind of walked past the stairs earlier, you realize that the rest of the library from above does sound pretty quiet.
Well, I'm theme of the day. I'm also just gonna like pipe up and say, go, hey, anyone seen a cat?
As you do this, the library goes completely silent, and everyone just kind of looks at you. And coming from running down the stairs, this young girl, and she looks far too young to be practicing magic. We're talking maybe 7 or 8 years old. She's really young. And she runs up to you and she says, Mister, I've seen a cat. It just ran upstairs. It ran right between my legs as I was coming downstairs. And then you just yelled at me and, yeah, there's the cat's up there. And as everyone watches this little girl come up to these somewhat imposing men in this library, they kind of go back to a low chatter and continue their conversations.
All right. Well, I know where I'm heading.
Alrighty, now I get to figure out how to copy your guys' tokens. Give me just one moment. Alrighty, and you are, I'm sorry, you said you were going up the stairs, correct?
I mean, yeah, I'm heading that way. That's for sure. I don't know if the other two are following me or not, but
Yeah.
Yeah, follow.
Did that screen transition work properly?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Neat. So you find yourselves on the second floor of the library. Much like, do you need to answer that?
Oh no, that's there's other people in the house.
Okay, so much like the first floor in appearance, this floor offers lush carpeting and finely carved bookcases. Tall stained glass windows provide decorative lighting, each depicting a different magical creature. There are 4 windows on each wall. The lighting from the windows is augmented by a generous number of mage lights floating at ceiling height. Several tables are on this floor for reading or holding quiet discussions at. Books on this floor are, let's see, Brand, you would know that books on this floor are generally, they're not rare, but they're less commonly found within the world. Not quite restricted section, but definitely
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 specialty
nicer
bookstore
books.
material.
Yeah, right along those lines. And interestingly enough, as you walk up these stairs, because you were paying attention to it earlier, Vailman, you realized that the sound from downstairs was kind of cut off as you went up this spiral staircase. You can only hear what's going on this floor.
Okay, well,
You can no longer
I
hear
suspect
downstairs.
there's like some magical barrier that's separating, like that's stopping sound from carrying. I don't know whether I make a check on that or not, but I suspect that.
Probably a safe bet.
Okay. Do I see anything that's related to the cat?
Immediately, no, you do not see a cat. All you see is a number of students, some sitting at tables in kind of study sessions, some sitting alone, just reading into reference books, and a number taking things off the shelves. You do notice that a lot of these students have an additional tassel that hangs around their waist, around basically their robes, that do distinguish them from the other students below.
Well, again, in that case, if I don't see the cat, I'm gonna do what I do, and I don't care that it's quiet in here. I'm gonna yell out, "Hey, anyone see the cat?"
I'm going to need a dexterity saving throw.
Okay. That is a 10 plus 4, 14.
Actually not going to do it. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, so as you begin to shout, as soon as you open your mouth and words start to escape at anything more than a whisper, you have this book come colliding with your nose from one of the nearby tables. It hits you for 6 points of damage as the spine kind of just collides with the top bridge of your nose and causes a trickle of blood to exit one of your nostrils.
I probably yell when this hits me, so I don't know if I have to do it again or not.
So what are you yelling when this book? And I'm not
think I'm
talking.
just like, I think it just smacks me in the face. I go, ah, fuck, Jesus.
You yell this, and someone kind of chuckles from deep within the room, and everyone goes back to their conversations. And one of another young woman, not a child, probably about 20 years old, walks down the staircase past you. It's a continuous spiral staircase, and they walk past you, and she just goes shh and continues down the stairs.
I look over at Velman and say apologies. I'll whisper this. I probably should have warned you about about speaking too loudly up here.
Yeah, probably should have. I started grumbling myself, and I'm pissed off. I'm not. I don't know if live is the term, but I'm not happy.
As you start once again steaming, you notice that the book on the floor is titled "The Properties of Inertia."
I'm just gonna look over at him and just start chuckling. Just.
I think I looked on the book. I go, that's interesting. I just pick up the book and I probably start flipping through it a little bit.
It is a very to what these people in the Mages Guild would call just a rudimentary science book. Although most likely to you, it is a more complicated subject. It really goes into physics, a little bit into the property of matter and the density of different forms of matter. But it's basically a general science book.
Can I roll to see whether the irony of, or rather the fittingness of the book on physics and projectile motion hitting me in the face is funny to me?
By all means, go for it.
I don't know what kind of check that would be.
I don't know, wisdom.
11 plus 2, 13.
You get a little bit of a chuckle.
I go, huh. I just drop the book back on the floor.
As you drop the book back on the floor, the downward motion, the air that peels around it, brings forth this tuft of fur. Just a little bit of fur comes drifting down, and it is white fur with just a tint of black to it, similar to the cat you saw before.
From the book? Where did it come from? I'm sorry.
Just when you dropped it, it kind of pulled this out of the air. It was kind of floating up above.
Okay, I see. Well, that's kind of weird that there would be fur, kind of hanging in the air. I guess I'm looking around for a flying cat, maybe, or just, maybe a sign that it climbed a bookcase or something.
Actually, as you look onto the bookcases, both in and on, you don't see a cat. However, you do notice that some of the students on the eastern portion of the room sitting at these tables once again start kind of shuffling their feet and looking under the tables.
I whispered to the other two people who were with me. I'm like, especially the person, our sorcerer who lives here. Like, does it seem like everyone's acting weird to you? Like, no one seems to know anything about this cat, but everyone seems to be looking for it.
Bran, to your knowledge, this is basically standard procedure and protocol for the Mages Guild. Basically as much as college students would care about a cat, minus just a little bit, because a cat wandering around the Mages Guild of Silverwolf is probably the least of their concerns when it comes to events going on here. You've seen some pretty crazy stuff go on within the Mages Guild throughout your short time here.
I whisper back to him. Well, there is a lot of social awkwardness here.
I shrug and I'm like, okay, whatever.
So what are we doing, guys?
I'm just going to kind of walk around, look at the different books. look at the
Just
students,
for
and
clarification, this staircase, this is a 2-floor building, or does the staircase keep going up?
It continues going up. It's a continuous spiral staircase that it'll keep going up until I mention otherwise.
Okay.
It's just basically a break in the handrail
No,
for
I got you.
exiting. Yeah.
I just get the visual. I just wanted to make sure I understood. I guess I'm gonna peer up the stairs for any sign of this cat while they start searching the floor we're currently on.
Okay. Students are coming up and down the stairs, so you kind of have to weave in and out between people. But you don't see any traces of a cat. Vanek, as you actually look around this building, I would like you to make a perception check. And Bran, what are you doing?
I might peek under some of these tables where everybody's looking down at their feet.
Okay, give me an investigation check, please, and mention to me which tables you're checking. Vanek, as you look around this room, the stained glass actually catches your eye, and you see some the depiction of some creatures which you've actually encountered before. Some of them are as basic as lizardmen, while some will depict minotaurs and unicorns. And you notice that one of these stained glass portraits portrays a cat. It is a white cat with a black tail, and it actually has wings.
oh, that's weird. I mean, why would they put a stained glass of cat up here? That doesn't even make sense. I'm just gonna go back to searching.
Okay, let's see. Wow, nat 20. So you look under the table that you're currently at, Bran, and you don't see a cat. However, you do notice a cat under the. Oh, that's the wrong cat. Hold on. Anyways, but you do notice a cat kind of underneath this table over here. And it's kind of just sitting around under the table, batting at the tassels hanging from these students' cloaks.
Is it the cat we're looking for?
Robes. Yes, it is the cat that you have been enlisted by the local fire department to contain.
Can I try to stealthily approach it?
Yeah, go ahead and roll for stealth. What was that?
Only I don't see this, right? I don't know what's going on.
Probably not. Okay, you think that you're approaching stealthily. So, Bran, are you making note to the other two people that the cat is within this room?
I think Vailman was probably too far away since we have to whisper, but if I could have maybe told Vanek before I walked over.
Yeah, I would say that you could let him know. So how
Yeah.
close are you going to get to this cat?
Say about right here.
So as you approach this cat, it notices you from under the table. And it kind of hops up onto this chair right here, knocking it over, and jumping onto this table, knocking the book off of it, and jumping to this book, or this table, knocking the book off of it, and jumping to
crashing noises causing other books to go flying off the shelves.
Absolutely. You hear just disgruntled students, books flying, and as you hear this, it jumps once again from this table, and it jumps up. Oh man, great tiles. It jumps up onto this bookshelf over here.
If you hold down Alt while you're moving it, you can move it off the grid.
Oh my goodness, I wish I knew that. That's great. It jumps up onto this bookshelf and kind of looks at you guys, kind of curiously. It just kind of looks at you from the top of this bookshelf.
And once the first book crashed, I probably turned around and I'm looking this direction now.
The cat looks at you and says, "Holy shit, you're a cat." No, he just kind of peers at you, and he kind of just licks his paw and then takes his paw and kind of sweeps his tail around and starts licking his tail. But he's kind of looking down at Vanek here from these just 15-foot tall bookshelves, kind of just looking at you and kind of purring and trilling as he goes about his day.
I'm gonna take a tiny bit of the pastry I had left over and kind of hold it out in my hand, and just kind of hold out my other hand as well, and just kind of like, hold my hands open for him to like jump to me, or if he wants the pastry.
I'm probably
Kinda
climbing the
lure him
stairs
in.
right now, and just in case he like runs off, I'm just trying to make sure he doesn't get to a different floor.
How big of a piece of this pastry are you giving this cat?
Enough to fill a palm of my hand, so fairly big, but not not like a half a cake size that I had already eaten.
So this cat, as it comes over to the edge and kind of slinks down and looks at you, its face just kind of peeks over the edge here. It kind of looks down at you, and before you could even react, you just see this paw with claws extended grab this pastry, and it brings it back up to its mouth. And this cat just kind of holds this pastry in its mouth as it kind of noms on it, eating it as it goes. And it just kind of looks at you with these big ol' eyes and kind of rolls over on his back with its belly in the air as it enjoys this pastry.
How high is the bookcase?
15 feet.
Holy shit. Big bookcases, damn.
So I'm gonna kind of motion over to Braun to kind of like
I think at this
pointing
stage
towards
I'm
the cat on the
probably, like, walking
bookcase,
over.
like.
Okay, so the three of you kind of surround this bookcase with this adorable cat on top of it.
I don't know. I'm probably gonna like grab some of the pastry out of my pocket and sort of like see if I can attract the cat's attention, like sort of wave it. And I like, is the cat looking at me at all, or is he still just totally engrossed in this other pastry?
He has this almost just shy of a fist piece of pastry in his mouth, and he kind of looks at you as you wave this pastry, and his eyes follow it, and his head goes back and forth and back and forth, and he kind of looks at it, and he just chews on his pastry a little bit, and he actually hops over from this bookshelf to the adjacent bookshelf. And Bran, I'm gonna need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
All right.
As this cat leaps over you, Vailman, you notice that this cat is actually kind of chubby. You know what? He's almost outright fat, and with the diet of this place being people just handing cats fist-sized pastries, it's not all that surprising. But you see this cat go just in this all-out leap from bookshelf to bookshelf, this huge piece of pastry in its mouth, and you just see its belly as it flies overhead. That being said, Braun, as this cat leaps from the bookshelf, you're caught off guard as this bookshelf actually topples down over top you, and books kind of rain out over your head, and the shelf comes crashing down to the floor in front of this table here. Oops.
Am I pinned under it? Or
Goodness. No, but you do take 8 points of damage.
okay.
Fucking brutal.
You get absolutely clobbered by a couple books as they start falling down. And the last one to just kind of put the nail in the coffin is a large reference book that just comes crashing down on your head, and it just knocks you face to the ground. As this happens, Vanek and Vailman, as you kind of see Bran just get annihilated by these books, this small cat just kind of goes and jumps. Sorry, not small cat. It's definitely not small. But he goes and he jumps and kind of scrabbles his way up the side of the spiral staircase and makes his way upstairs. Vailman, I'm actually going to need you to make a saving throw as well.
Dex?
Yes, please.
9 plus 4, 13.
Yes, that'll do. You're able to get out of the way of this crashing bookcase. It just topples over top students as this cat leaps to the staircase.
Okay. Hang on, let me adjust my headset real quick. 1 second.
And I'm just gonna kind of say, "Oh shit," and run over to Braun and try to like kind of help him up and out from this bookcase.
Good.
Yeah, he's looking pretty hurt.
I think Vanek and kind of dust myself off to stand up.
I think I sort of sigh because I'm mad that I was guarding the stairs and I let the cat get I left my post and the cat got away. I sort of looked to see if those two were ready to move, and as soon as I'm confident that they're up on their feet and ready to move, I sort of just walking towards the stairs.
Okay. Yeah, it is a little bit disappointing. You did kind of miss this cat, but at the same time, to be fair to yourself, with all the students coming up and down these stairs, all the traffic, catching a mid-flight cat on a spiral staircase probably would not have been the most easily accomplished task. But you go ahead and make your way upstairs. I'll go ahead and transition for you guys.
All right. So before we go up the stairs, though, I'm just gonna kind of turn to Braun and say, "By the way, while I was looking earlier, did you notice the stained glass window of a cat over there?
Oh no, I didn't
What's
see
that all about? Yeah, what's that all about?"
Ron, give me a nature check with advantage, please.
So roll again, since you have advantage. There you go.
Okay, so you somewhat recognize this stained glass portrait. It definitely looks like the cat you saw before. Definitely in your studies as a sorcerer prior to today. You have heard of basically these house cats, but these ones, when they've got this black tail, whenever their tail is disturbed, they are known to kind of morph into different shapes and sizes. It's not, you don't really know too much about it, but they definitely aren't your standard house cats. They're basically a lesser magical creature.
Well, I say, I do recognize this, and guess I explained to both of them about the disturbing the tail. And
Sure.
And I asked what kind of cool stuff do they morph into? Does he know?
Not particularly. There's been documentation of these creatures transforming into all different varieties. You do know that the form of the transformation really depends on how badly disturbed this cat is. Basically, whatever sets it off. It's almost like a defense mechanism.
Okay.
And as you saw Veilman walking up the stairs earlier, Bran, you know that the third floor of the library is not off limits, but it would be against your better judgment to go up there without proper approval or without proper invitation. That being said, it's not somewhere that you can't go.
Well, has he gone up there, or is he just starting?
I mean, I'm probably starting up the stairs unless someone stops me.
I guess I walk up and put my hand on his shoulder and tell him about the limitations or whatever, and suggest that why don't we go see the I guess it'd be the Dewey Stone head librarian, and ask if we can all be permitted to the third floor, and he may also know more information about the cat from that whatever it was that we just saw. The
Stained
stained
glass.
glass.
Sure, I'll move you guys back down. So as you guys come back down here, Dewey is still working away, checking out books at the counter. He looks definitely less than enthused about administering, he's checking out textbooks to everyone. It's just an all-day task, sometimes even multiple days. But you're able to walk up to him, Braun, and as he sees you approach, he recognizes you as a former student, and he says, "Oh, hello, Braun. What what are you doing? You shouldn't be starting this early in the semester."
Oh, hey, Dewey. Me and some couple of new acquaintances are trying to get up to the 3rd floor. We were wondering if we could have permission to enter the 3rd floor.
He looks at you and he kind of shakes his head a little bit and he whispers to you as he's still checking out books. He's just going about stamping on his merry way, and he kind of leans over and whispers and he says, "I've heard that Magnus is having some guests today. I would assume that they're up there in the meeting hall. I can go ahead and I can give you guys a request form to take up there, and you can just say that you were retrieving a book for me upon my request. But I don't think I would linger up there too long, especially if the meeting's already in progress. I would be pretty quick about it." And he reaches out from behind the counter and gets a piece of parchment, which he quickly scribbles out a request for you to go grab just a random book from upstairs, and he hands it to you after signing the bottom of it.
All right, I take the request form. Thanks, Dewey. And do you have any information about this stained glass cat
He
on the 2nd floor?
he kind of rubs his head a little bit as he continues stamping books for checkout with his offhand, and he looks to be thinking really hard, and he says, "Oh, the yeah, shoot, it's yeah, something about them being disturbed if you step on their tail. I mean, any cat would be upset, but they transform into different creatures to defend themselves. Why do you ask?"
Me and my new acquaintances have been tasked with capturing a cat that we believe is similar to this, and we've been having a lot of trouble trying to capture that cat. And would you have any advice on how to maybe capture a cat like this?
As you mentioned that you're pursuing this cat, his face goes kind of pale ashen, and he stops checking out books for a moment, and he looks at you and he says, "Do you mean to tell me that there's one of those within the library?"
Say yes. We believe it's gone up to the 3rd floor.
Give me a persuasion check.
All right.
So as you mention this, his face that was cheerful just a moment ago continues to grow more and more grim, and he writes a small note at the bottom of this paper, which is basically, uh, it's basically another note of permission expediting you to go up and get this book. And as he starts slowly checking books back out to people, he instructs them to leave the library, and he starts kind of pointing them towards the front door. As this steady stream of students kind of begins to walk out, Walter walks in and he goes behind the counter and starts talking with Dewey in kind of a hushed voice, whispering to him. And Dewey whispers a few things back, and Walter nods. And he turns to you and he says, "What cat exactly are you looking for?"
Well, there was a disturbance at the storefront this morning, and this customer had a cursed blade, and
I kind of I think I think I say I think his name was Clyde.
Walter looks at you as you mention this gentleman named Clyde, and he says, "Oh dear, I didn't realize Clyde was in town." Great. And he says, "Where do you think this cat is?"
We think it went to the 3rd floor of the library.
He looks at you similarly grimly to Dewey, and he says, "Gentlemen, I'm going to need you to go get that cat. I've got something that I need to attend to down here rather quickly, but I'll be up there in just a few moments."
Okay, at this point, my interest is thoroughly piqued. I'm gonna actually invoke this. I'm wondering whether if there's a place in the library where I might be able to find a book that tells me a little bit more information about this cat, and I'm wondering whether, like, using this feature, I could figure it out. Like, find a quick resource to help me gain some more information on this.
You are actually on the reference floor of the library, which is perfect. Especially with Dewey's help, he'll kind of rush you guys over, and he pulls a book off the shelf upon your request, and he hands it to you. And it is a book of lesser magical creatures. He quickly rushes back behind the counter, and he starts really expediting the checkout process and filing these people out the door as you start tearing into this book. Due to the urgency of time, I'm not going to say that you have a ton of time to go basically reading chapters into this creature.
Right, I'm just looking for, like, just quick information. Something that's gonna help me here.
Yeah, what you do uncover is that this form of cat is basically a mix between a house cat and a pseudo dragon. The cat's tail is formed of black shadowy scales. It's basically a hybrid cat and dragon. As you read through the warnings and the precautions of this animal, you see that these cats, when disturbed, have been known to transform into anything, into kind of all of the forms it takes are more or less shadows, but sometimes into something as little as a bear, sometimes as large as a chimera. There's just huge warnings about what these cats are, what their potential is if disturbed.
Alright, so don't grab their tail. Else fight bear. Or worse. Okay.
As you flip through the pages, you actually do see, much to your amusement, a page that does discuss their eating habits and how they often overeat and do enjoy sweet tasting foods. And as you pass by just a couple more pages, just as you near the end of the chapter, there's one final note that says, along the lines of, "These cats will often appear as harmless and friendly, however, don't be deceived. They are easily a formidable foe if upset." And that's the end of the...
Okay, do I see anything in there about, like, since it's a dragon hybrid, are they known for, like, transferring to things that have fire attacks?
There's not really enough detail within the reference, because there's so many creatures that is listed as transforming into. It's a very brief statement, description, and picture of each thing it has been known to transform into. Mostly just saying, like, for example, bear, the description of its size, its speed, its overall agility and dexterity, but no, you don't see anything about breath attacks or anything.
Okay. Well, still, I have a suspicion. I think quietly, I don't mention this to anyone. I take those ember scorch flowers I had in my that I picked off the bushes outside. I sort of pop them into, like, my water skin. I'm trying to sort of, like, steep, like, a tea type thing, just in case.
I like it. Go ahead and give yourself a point of inspiration for that and your research. as you guys kind of go through and thumb through this book, Dewey looks at you and he finishes the line of students that has been checking out books, and he says, "Gentlemen, you need to go retrieve this cat before it's too late. This cat, if upset, could destroy the entire city."
Okay.
Damn it! I knew we should have got paid more than 100 gold.
Yeah, I say, well, we can negotiate the rate says on return.
Are we going back upstairs?
I mean, I'm ready to go back upstairs. I'm heading that way.
Second or third floor?
Well, I mean, unless if I'm first in line, unless I see something on the second floor that's relevant as we're walking up, I'm just continuing to the third floor.
Sure. Actually, give me an order for which you guys are walking up the stairs.
If he's first, I'll be second.
I'll go last.
My passive perception's 14, in case that's relevant.
So, no, not quite. You guys come to the third floor of the library. Decorated identically to the two lower floors, this floor also boasts 16 tall stained glass windows. The windows on this floor portray the great mages of history and legend, including Queen Celia. The books on one bookcase of this floor are the most rare and valuable objects within the building. Most of these books cannot be found anywhere else within the realm. These include high-level spellbooks, tomes of ancient evil, documentation of exotic places, ancient scrolls, and works related to forbidden magic. Brand, this would be general knowledge to you. These books are accessible to students who have been here for a number of years, but is kind of on a look, don't touch basis unless you have permission otherwise. And as you guys walk in, you see that there's a large table on the opposing side of the room, which has a number of men and women at it, all in very decorative robes and cloaks. Some dressed in white, blue, red, all sorts of different colors, and they're kind of here chatting at this table. Some of them playing around with little cantrips in their hand, flicking fire in between their fingers. And behind each of them is an assistant that is taking notes, basically a scribe, as they kind of chat. You also do notice that the head and the foot of the table are currently empty.
Okay. I don't know. I'm looking for signs of cat.
Go ahead and give me a perception check, please.
That's an 11 plus 4, 15.
You look around the room, and you don't see a cat. As you do kind of peer around the bookshelf, one of the gentlemen on the close side of the table looks over his shoulder and notices you, and he begins to approach. He's dressed in a darker set of robes, and he just kind of walks up to you with a staff in hand.
Okay. I'm paying him no mind until he addresses me. I'm pretty much going about my business.
What would you be doing exactly?
I mean, I'm looking around. I'm looking like on top of the bookcases, so just around the room, sort of like peering on, like not like getting it out on the floor, but like peering under the table to see if I can see the cat. And I'm looking at the bookcases too. I'm sort of eyes darting around the room.
Can you give me an intelligence saving throw, please?
7.
As you kind of go to look up on this bookshelf, you find yourself unable to move. You can move your eyes, but your body seems to have ceased to... Your motor skills have basically ceased. This gentleman walks up to you, and he whispers very low, "What are you doing? There's a meeting in progress."
I go, well, retrieving a book. Just retrieving a book, having a look around. Don't mean to disturb you. If you could let me move, that'd be fantastic. We could be out of your hair sooner.
His spell does wear off, and to be fair, it did not feel like it was heavily channeled, just enough to really hold you in place. And he looks at you, and as you look at this man underneath his hood, he looks very pale, extremely aged, and his eyes glow kind of this faint green color. Bran, you can tell that this man is and has been a sorcerer for quite a number of years. His body is almost more supported by arcane energy than anything else.
Would I know this man's name?
Yes, in fact, Vanek, give me a perception check, please. Yeah, so Vanek, as you kind of look around this room as this all happens, you notice that many of the people sitting at this table are portrayed in the stained glass windows of this room. They're all very highly renowned mages and clerics and sorcerers from without their realm. These are the people of folktale. Those who have felled dragons, those who have destroyed cities. They are all extremely powerful and well-known wielders of the arcane. I'm not going to go making up names for them per se, but you would definitely recognize this man, even if it was just along the lines of, holy cow, you're so-and-so.
I say, excuse me, sir, me and my acquaintances are looking for this very dangerous cat slash pseudo dragon. Dewey Stone, the librarian, and the captain of the guard gave us permission to come up here. They said the cat could be very dangerous.
This man grins as you mention this cat being dangerous, and as he grins, you notice that all of his teeth are sharpened. They all come down to points, and they're almost this rich yellow color. Definitely not decaying per se, but not your pearly whites. And he looks at you, and as he releases Veilman from this spell, he says, "As you were," and he walks back to the table.
I sort of whisper myself, rude, just freezing me in place before even addressing me. I grumble and just sort of just go back to walking on this line of books to see if I can see anything.
Okay, Bran, as this man walks back, you know from rumor of this room. You've been up here maybe once before, but just as you're walking up to the floor above, which you know to be the observatory, and you've kind of walked past, and you know that at the head of this table normally sits Magnus, and the foot of this table is normally held by Walter Brock. Like I said, both of which are not present at this time.
Okay. I guess I approach the table and ask if anyone knows where Magnus is.
As you approach the table, there's a middle-aged woman. She wears these brilliantly bright robes. They almost glow from the light in the room. And as you walk up, she kind of puts a finger to her lips and smiles at you a little bit, almost as if a warning. Vanek, go ahead and give me a perception check again while they're doing this.
Okay. I got a 12.
All right, I sent you a message. Veilman, as you walk past these books, do you recognize some of these to be even from ancient tiefling origins? They are definitely some rare books. In fact, some of them are even just straight up spell books from some very well known and renowned wizards.
Do I see
Uh,
anything that looks alchemy related?
no, not on this floor.
Okay, I'm not that interested then.
I'm going to just silently walk over to Bron here, kind of tap him on the shoulder.
Oh, yes, what is it?
Just gonna kind of motion him towards the bookshelf, just to kind of follow me over here.
I'm assuming I see nothing. I'm just gonna like oh.
And I'm gonna point up to cat on the bookshelf.
This cat is resting on top of the bookshelf, and he's larger than he was before. The pastry no longer in his mouth. He's kind of licking his paws clean and goes back to licking this, as you now notice, scaly black tail. And he kind of looks at you guys and starts to release kind of a silent yowl, but it comes out being just pitiful. It's really quiet, and then he kind of trails a little bit and starts walking down along the bookshelf here.
You said a black scaly tail?
Correct.
I'm getting a hunch. I pull out my water skin and I hand it to my two compatriots and say, you guys may want to drink some of this just in case.
Yeah, why not? I was thirsty anyways, so I'll drink a bit of it.
It's odd as you taste the water. It tastes sweet, almost like a nice chai tea, but it's actually warm to the touch. It's not the temperature you would expect from just a water skin that's been carrying around all day, unless Veilman is,
I did not
space
magically
heater.
heat it. No.
I beckon for the water skin and take a drink as well.
Yeah, it's as Veilman as you also take a drink. Obviously, you know that you did not heat this, and it is definitely
But
warm. It's
I
almost
know
like
I know these flowers confer fire resistance, correct?
correct.
I didn't drink any then. I'm a tiefling. I already have hellish resistance. I don't need fire resistance on top. But I give it to the other two for this purpose.
Okay, gotcha. What's the plan here, guys?
I pulled the pastry out that I had before and I start waving it to see if I can get its attention, get it to try to follow me.
As you start waving this pastry, the cat kind of stops licking its paw, and he looks at you for just a moment. He looks at the pastry, and his head goes back and forth as you wave this pastry around. And then his gaze turns to something else, and you notice that on this table where these magi are meeting, there's just all sorts of food, basically as you would expect in an office meeting. And in the far end of the table is a plate of pastries.
Oh. You know what? I give 0 fucks. I wander over to the table. There's a part of my reach. I grab the platter of pastries and I start walking away with it.
So as you approach this table and your hand just is about to grab one of these pastries, this cat jumps from the bookshelf, runs along the floor, hops up on the table, and starts running across the table, just knocking everything off the table, now with a large pastry in its mouth. And this cat is now covered in... Also, speaking of cats, this cat is now absolutely covered in juice and pastry dust and all sorts of things. And he's kind of a mess. And he runs off the table and kind of runs along the wall. Whoops.
Nope. Grab the map layer.
Right past the two of you, and makes his way to the stairs. And the mages at this table, as you walked up to this table, the mages at this table look at you as they're not covered in food and drink. They were, easily able to disperse it before it made contact with the robes with a flick of the wrist and a bit of magic. And they look at you as if this was your fault.
I need to go get that cat. Excuse me. I don't talk to him. I don't care. I'm walking away.
Okay, so you are walking over towards your compatriots, and you notice the people at this table begin to stand up, but they're not in pursuit of you.
Okay. I mean, unless someone's directly addressing me or anything, I'm paying them no mind whatsoever. I'm out of here.
Okay. Are you heading towards the stairs, or...
I'm like, I turned to them like, you can't go upstairs? I asked my two friends.
Yes, the two of you did see the cat indeed go up the stairs.
Yeah, it got right by us. It looks like it possibly went up the stairs to the next floor.
Alright, let's go get it then.
Alrighty. We're going to go ahead and take a break here. If you guys could organize yourselves back into your marching order, I would appreciate it.
I don't know if I was first this time or not. I might.
Okay. For your listening convenience, I will be putting a piece of music into the Discord channel. Listen to it as you'd like when we enter the next room. Other than that, let's go ahead and take a 5 to 10 minute break. We'll be back in a little bit. Sound good?
All right.
Sounds good.
Water real quick.
Sounds good.
Okay. I'm back. I don't know if anyone else is. What's happening here? That. Oh, I'm a character sheet. There it is. I'm ready to go, by the way. I don't know if anyone else is back yet.
Yep, I'm back.
I'm back.
I am also back. All right, so I posted up some music for you guys. I would definitely at least preload one of them if you're interested in all the battle music. This is stuff that I use for my basically when I DM in person. Whenever I DM in person, it includes a set of speakers, all sorts of sound effects and stuff, occasionally food and drink as well. So it's kind of weird for me to do this online, but the least I can do is share with you guys some music. I can't really FedEx you all food or actual drinks for potions and stuff. So what are you going to do? Give me just 1 minute here and we'll get going.
I mean, are you sure you can't send us food though? I'd be open to that.
I would if I could. I really. But like, if I could send you guys actual like drinks and for potions and stuff, and back, yeah, this is what it looks like. That'd be pretty neat. But it's been kind of a bit of a trip using Roll20, just because to me it's almost kind of limiting. It's neat to have the visuals and stuff, but it sucks not having people in your dining room playing in
Right.
person.
I get that.
Right.
But hey, what are you gonna do? Unless y'all want to fly out to California. But
Yeah, maybe I
that's
would
probably
right around now, but
probably not the the most economical way to play D&D. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. Everyone's good to go?
Yep.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so you guys are walking up the stairs, and by the looks of it, it's going to be Vanek, Velman, and Braun.
Mm-hmm.
And as you guys walk up the stairs, you come into the room, which, Braun, you know as the observatory. And in this room, you see Magnus in his red robes. Okay, wow, this is amusing. He's leading a class which is almost it looks to be a sparring class, and there's first year students against second year students, kind of testing themselves on controlling this shadow and pushing it towards one another. And
Do I recognize the kind of magic they're doing? Just out of curiosity.
it's basically just a harmless offensive spell. It's almost as if, like, if you were to imagine fencing, it'd be like magical fencing.
Okay.
It's not meant to hurt or anything. It's more used to be just a visual indicator of where the control of this magic is. But as they're sparring and you make your way up, Magnus is here, and in his old age is saying, "Control yourselves, class. Control the magic and push it against your opponent. This is only sparring, however, in the real world, others will not be so gentle." And as he is speaking, this cat kind of goes up and rubs against Magnus's leg here. And as he looks down at it, the cat gets kind of spooked and runs down by this student and also spooks this student, who, as this shadow goes and kind of engulfs him as he loses his concentration against his second year student, he stumbles and he steps on the cat's tail and falls onto his butt.
I go, ooh,
And-
shouldn't have done that.
This Magnus, as he sees what's happening, looks almost mortified, which is kind of strange, especially to you, Braun. This man is an extremely powerful wizard. To see him concerned over something like stepping on the cat of a tail is kind of odd.
Okay.
And you all see this cat kind of start convulsing almost, and it kind of moves towards the center of the room and just sits there, and it kind of lays down and stops moving. And as it stops in the center of this room, it starts to dissipate into this inky blackness, which is kind of dispersed throughout the room, and the cat is gone.
Okay.
And this is a good time to start your music if you want. As this cat kind of disappears, you see a large form take shape in the room, and Magnus looks, if he wasn't scared before, he is now terrified as this large black dragon morphs in the center of the room. The students look absolutely panicked, and this dragon turns to Magnus, and he begins to wave his staff overhead in a kind of defensive motion to fend it off as he backs off. And I'm going to need everyone to go ahead and roll initiative there at home and tell me what you get.
15.
19. I forgot to
Awesome.
click my token, but
It's okay. I don't even know how that works, to be honest, so.
A 5.
This is a black dragon, correct?
This is a large, shadowy dragon,
Okay.
and it rolled an 18.
Can I roll like a nature check to see if I can tell like what kind of if I can tell anything about the nature of this, like whether like black dragons, like an actual black dragon has a very specific kind of attack pattern and like what abilities.
Yeah,
they
go
use.
for it.
I want to know if I know the difference between this, like, whether this is an attack like a black dragon or a shadow dragon. If it's a shadow dragon, if I can figure anything out about it. 12 plus 4, I think. No, only plus 2. 14.
You can realize you recognize that this isn't a true black dragon. It's almost more of a conjuration of a pseudo dragon, except a very, very large pseudo dragon.
Okay.
Alrighty. We're gonna go ahead and start combat, but that does not mean that you need to attack. Vaughn, you're up first.
Do I have any pastry left? I think I took like what you said, like a big cake size. So I think I have some.
Yeah.
Can I like just grab what little bit of the pastry I have left at this, at this time, cupping it in 2 hands because just every bit I have left. Just gonna kind of hold the pastry out and just slowly walk towards the dragon. Like it's okay, kitty. Like here you go, more pastry.
Yeah, he looks less than enthused at your offering of a pastry, but he doesn't necessarily make more of a move towards you than a glance. Do you have anything else you're going to try this turn?
Let me see. I'm just going to take I haven't done it before. It's like a dodge action, I think. Is that what it's called?
I know of readying an action.
I think dodge is a thing. Like, you could say that you're preparing to dodge. I think it adds like a certain amount of AC for.
Right. Yeah, I know it uses. It uses an action. So a dodge action, I focus entirely on avoiding attacks until the start of my next turn. Any attack roll made against me has disadvantage.
Okay.
All right. Help remind me of that in case I forget, please.
Okay. And I make dexterity saving throws with advantage.
Okay, neat.
Yep.
Okay, Dragon's turn. So, as you actually mentioned that, you see this dragon open its mouth, and this actually comes as kind of a shock to you, no pun intended, but from the mouth of this dragon comes this orb of shadow that is just cracking with this dark energy. And
does it seem electric to me?
It does.
I immediately think, damn, why couldn't it have been a fire?
This orb goes flying from this dragon's mouth, and Magnus is able to kind of dance out of the way as he comes over to the side right next to Vanek. And this orb goes crashing into the wall behind him, just blowing stones off of the wall about the room. Valman, your turn.
I'm going to use thaumaturgy. Oh shoot! Double check how this works. I'm just gonna pop this in chat real quick and then. I'm gonna make. Oh, it has a range of 30 feet. How far away? So I'm gonna like sort of step up, like over here. I think that was, yeah, that's only 15. And I'm gonna like use thaumaturgy to make like a loud like thunderclap behind the dragon, like over here.
Okay, and there's no roll for this, right?
No,
Doesn't look like
just...
it. So you make this thunderclap, which echoes throughout the room. Some of the students just basically fall to their knees in terror, and this dragon kind of looks back over his shoulder and hisses before returning back to Magnus. And then it also looks over his shoulder again on the other side, and as it sees nothing behind it, kind of returns towards Magnus, but it looks a little perplexed.
Okay.
Let's see. Braun, your turn.
Oh boy. We probably don't have any healing potions on us, do we?
I got this Ember Scorch tea.
I kind of dropped all of the pastries on the floor, but you're welcome to them.
Uh, did he have like half a large pastry left?
Yeah, he definitely had enough pastry that you could go consume it.
All right. Well, walk up, pick it up, cast prestidigitation to kind of clean it off, and I eat the pastry.
Okay, go ahead and roll me 2d8, please.
Okay.
All right, you're going to be healed for 11 points of health. And as you guys see Braun kind of take this pastry and wipe it off with magic and stuff it into his mouth as he's running about the room. And as he does this, the dragon kind of looks at Braun and sees the pastry in his mouth and kind of hisses once again. Okay. Vaughn, you're going to be at the top of the order, but give me 1 second. Everything in this combat has actions between rounds.
Okay.
So, from the ground below
Oh,
come a number of mages streaming up the staircase, and they all kind of fan out about the room around this dragon. And in addition to the gentleman from below is Walter. And Walter kind of comes up behind or beside Magnus, and he looks at him and claps him on the shoulder, and he says, "What have you done?" And the room is now full of 10 students, the 3 of you, nearly a dozen of these legendary mages and clerics and sorcerers, and 1 large black dragon. And as they approach, one of the wizards, as he runs up from the floor below, draws forth an arc of lightning, which just screams through the air and crashes into the dragon, goes through it, and just flies into the opposing wall. A wound is present in the side of the shadow dragon for a few seconds before it closes again, the shadow melting back into form as the dragon shrinks just ever so slightly. Soon after this lightning strikes, a swarm of ethereal bolts tear through the air and come crashing into the dragon's side, each leaving a mark of penetration. And Vanek, it's going to be your turn.
Well, I see everyone else attacking, so I'm going to let's see here, run down and just give it an attack.
All right, go ahead and roll for it.
Yep,
mhm.
rolled
So-
a 2.
You actually bring this great sword down, and you miss just between the talons of this dragon. Not even close enough to make contact, but just off. And it is the dragon's turn. The dragon kind of turns about the room, whipping at the students with his tail, just knocking them against the walls, other people, and it looks at Veilman. And he kind of comes crashing through these first-year students and tries to take a bite at Veilman.
Oh man. Yeah, that hits.
How's a 14 do?
Yeah, it's.
Alrighty. And that's going to be 7 points of damage. It barely gets you on the side of the arm, but holy cow does it hurt.
Sure does.
And it's going to be Veilman's, it's going to be your turn, Veilman.
I'm going straight over here, and I'm gonna eat my remaining pastry that
Alrighty.
that I've been waving around. Tried to bait the cat earlier.
Go ahead and give me 2d8.
8 and 6.
All right, go ahead and add that to your health.
14.
And Braun, your turn.
All right. Guess I'll move over here. And well, maybe more like there, and cast magic missile at the dragon.
Go for it.
So I roll 3d4, but then add 3.
Pretty much,
I
yeah.
think, yeah. Because magic missiles, you don't have to roll to attack, right? I don't even think
No.
they miss.
That's an auto hit.
So that's like 10, I guess. With the plus 3 force.
You see these 3 bolts of arcane energy come forth from your fingertips and go flying into the dragon, which once again make contact and make these nice puncture wounds in the dragon, which seal up similarly to before, and it shrinks down just a little bit more, and the dragon seems to be shrinking as the shadows are dispersed from its body. Top of the turn, let's see. So at this point, the young woman from before, who whispered to you guys to be quiet in the meeting, raises her staff into the air, and a flood of light bathes the floor, climbing from the floor all the way up towards the top of the room of the observatory. The light climbs from your feet to your head, soothing pain as it goes, and you can all roll 1d8 for healing if you need it.
Point of order. When I ate the pastry, did that heal me for 14 points of damage, or did it give me 14 temporary hit points?
It'll heal you up to your max, and then
Okay.
I should have mentioned that, you're right. It will put you above the max.
So, but it
Okay.
heals
It
heals
heals
you
you.
to max, and then it adds temporary hit points.
Correct.
All right, so the healing doesn't help me at all then.
Yeah, it doesn't
I have
help me either.
5 less temporary hit points. Okay.
I haven't taken any damage at all, so it doesn't help me.
Famous last words. At the same time, a young man dressed in golden robes begins to swing a metal staff in a circular motion overhead. However, you don't witness the results of these motions. Lastly, Magnus seems to be in a trance now. He mumbles words of an arcane language which you do not understand, and he seems to be swaying to himself over here in front of this dragon. Vanek, it's going to be your turn.
All right, I'm going to take another swing with my greatsword. 15.
All right, 15 will do it. Go ahead and roll for damage. Alrighty. You go and you bring your greatsword just crashing through the leg of this dragon, and it tears out just a large chunk of its leg, which the shadow of it dissipates into the room, and the dragon shrinks down that much more. Your blade passes through it. You meet no resistance, but it's obvious that you're doing damage to it in some form.
All right, so just so it's clear to me, like it's like every time the shadows get hit, it's blowing off shadow, but it like there's no like points of vulnerability that appear afterwards. It just sort of like shrinks down and.
Correct.
Okay.
Vaughn, as you do this, I'm going to need you to make a dexterity saving throw, please. Or sorry, Vanek. I keep doing that.
All right, so dexterity saving throw.
Yeah, please.
13.
This dragon's tail comes just crashing along the floor, and as it's about to sweep you off your feet, it materializes into a solid tail. You're able to jump over it, but just ever so barely. And it goes and crashes back around the room and knocks the students now behind him onto the floor. Also, I'm going to... Let's see. Yeah, I'm assuming a 2 is not going to hit your armor class, Vanek.
No, it is not.
That would be pretty sad. Alrighty, Valman, your turn.
You have anything to hit there? Wow. Okay. Seeing he's turning towards me, yeah.
Correct.
All right, so I'm gonna sort of get moving right with my bow out, and I'm just gonna launch an arrow at his head as I run by, moving right. 7.
Yep, 7 is not going to do it. And how far did you move? Do you have any more movement that you want to take?
I think this is. I was here, and I last 30 feet, so no.
All right, cool. Braun, your turn.
All right. Let's see how far I can go. I guess I'll move up here and cast my last first level spell, another magic missile. Just for curiosity, when I roll this, can I add +3 at the end?
Yeah.
Correct.
Or
Mhm.
oh, okay, cool.
You see 3 more of these arcane darts fly from your fingertips, colliding with the side of this dragon's face, and one of them in particular just tears through its snout. You have successfully booped this dragon on the snoot,
I would
and
be so proud.
a large chunk of shadow just flies off of the face of this dragon. And top of the turn, an older man dressed in red robes raises his hands towards the sky. Not Magnus, different man. Raises his hands toward the sky as an enormous amount of fire begins to rise from the floor. Additionally, you notice the observatory's lens spinning quickly around the ceiling of the room, quickly colliding with the head of the dragon as it recoils from another bolt of lightning. The flames now form into a large fire elemental, bringing its fists down, crashing upon the head of the dragon.
Holy crap.
And let's do some movement here. Let's see. As the 2 titans recoil from their attacks, they grapple with each other as they begin to tumble around the room. Magnus is seemingly unaffected by the events within the room, and his eyes begin to glow with a faint red, changing to orange, and then blue light. Vaughn, it's going to be your turn.
All right. So, is there any spot alongside the dragon where its tail wouldn't be able to easily sweep?
With a sporadic of movement as it is with these 2 just huge beasts wrestling and the length of its tail, probably not. I mean,
Okay.
your best bet would probably be like right under its chest because its legs would be blocking it, but that's about it.
Okay. So I'm going to just kind of take a short jump and pull my greatsword up and try to just cleave it down onto its arm here.
Sure, give me an attack roll with advantage.
Oh, well,
All right.
Crit.
Let's see.
I'll take the first one. Not even gonna roll again. All right.
Holy shit.
So here's the thing, actually, too. On that second one, I rolled 2 1s on the second damage, and I have great weapon fighting. So any 1 or 2 on the damage roll, I can re-roll. So I get to re-roll both of those damage rolls on the
Wait.
ones.
Hold on, wait, give me something. Where did the 46 come from?
Yeah, there's no way that's the real thing.
The greatsword is 2d6, right? So it automatically does the crit. So wait, what
But
one is?
it added. Hold on.
Yeah, so it should be 2d6 plus 2d6, but it added the regular plus the crit, so I might have filled it out wrong. So
That's all right.
so either way, it's 4 plus 1 and then 1 plus 4. So it's 4 plus whatever, so I got to re-roll the 1. So I basically roll 1 more d6, and then I have to take that, and it'll be 4. So ignore the
Okay.
like the second part. It should be -5 because it did it twice.
Right.
All right, got it.
But yeah, so roll 1d6. So 4. So it's 4 plus 4, so it's 13 plus 8, so it's 21.
Alrighty, and describe how you're making this attack for me.
So like I said, I'm just kind of running up, pulling my greatsword along the ground, taking as much of a leap as I can, and just trying to cleave straight down along its side right about here. I'm just trying to take that arm off, like.
As you make this attack, your sword, just as before it's about to make contact, you see it glow this bright white as this just beam of magic comes from this gentleman over here up in the top corner, and your sword begins to glow just as it tears through the shadowy arm of this dragon, which does lop it off at the joint. However, from that joint, it does regrow. The dragon shrinks down even more than before, but you did quite a bit of damage to it. And it's going to be the dragon's turn.
And ignore this for a second here. I'm just trying to make sure. All right. Okay, it's fixed. All right, we're good. Just making sure I fixed it.
As you make this attack, the dragon kind of rears back a little bit with its head, and it sees you as it's wrestling with this fire elemental. And it goes and tries to bring its back claws crashing down on you, and it misses by a mile. It's having a hard time wrestling with this fire elemental at the moment. Other than that, I mean, you're still kind of under it, but because it's been shrinking, your cover from the tail is just a little bit reduced. Let's see. Veilman, your turn.
I'm just gonna keep on like circle strafing it this way. I'm gonna fire another arrow once I get over here. That's a little bit better. 20.
Nice.
Not a crit, but yeah. So I'm assuming that hits.
Oh yeah.
1d8 plus 2, 7 plus 2, 9 damage.
Nice. Alrighty. And Braun, your turn.
All right. I'll move a little further away towards the back and cast Ray of Frost.
Is that a 2-hit? I don't remember that spell.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think I
a ranged spell attack.
Alright, cool. Go for it.
Nice.
Alrighty, so you have this ray of frost come forth from your hand, and it goes straight through the dragon, and it just these shards of ice tear away at it a bit, but it doesn't seem to do too much damage. As you do this, the blonde woman in the bright white robes from earlier waves her hand towards you, and you feel your arcane strength return to you, and your spell slots are renewed.
Nice.
The dragon has begun to overpower the fire elemental, its flames rapidly dimming until they are finally extinguished by a large orb of shadow released from the dragon's mouth, and the fire elemental is no more. An earthquake nearly causes you to lose your footing as a dwarven mage begins to create a barrage of stones formed from the floor beneath your feet. The stones fly through the dragon by the thousands, each one creating a small hole which is quickly mended, the dragon shrinking each time it recovers. I'm going to need each of you to make a dexterity saving throw, please.
17. Actually, I'm sorry, 19.
Alrighty, awesome. You're each going to be able to keep your footing amidst this earthquake as the floor shakes and literally begins to fall out beneath you in some spots. As this dragon is just barraged by this stone, it shrinks down a little bit more. And at the same time, it shrinks down even more. And as it does this, you see it split into two, as there are now two equally sized shadow dragons within this room. Vanek, you're no longer beneath any of them. In fact, you're in between both of them.
Wonderful.
And it's going to be your turn. So I'm now going to we're going to go with North Dragon and South Dragon. So
Okay.
I'm going to need to know which one you're targeting.
Okay, so I'm going to run up here by the North Dragon and just, again, lifting the great sword and just attempting to bring it down straight on its neck.
Yeah, but that's not going to do it. Dragon's turn. We're going to go with the North Dragon first. Uh, 11's not going to hit. 17 will. I think.
Yeah, 17 will.
As you go to make this attack against the dragon, it kind of grins at you as it hisses, and it actually brings its jaws around your chest. It materializes just before making contact with you, but a little bit late. It sinks in, but it doesn't completely eviscerate you as you would imagine a dragon to do. And you're going to take a whopping 2 points of damage.
What kind of damage is that?
Piercing.
All right, and I prevent 3 of that damage.
Okay, you take 0 damage. Yep, heavy armor. Got it. Sweet. Alrighty. The southern dragon is actually going to start to take flight. It flies up to the dome of this observatory, which I should have read the description of the room earlier, which is my bad. But it flies up and starts releasing these orbs of shadow from its mouth around the room. Bran, I'm going to need you to make a dexterity saving throw, please. Bran.
All right.
All right, that is not going to do it. There's an orb of shadow that comes from this dragon's mouth, and it engulfs you. You're going to take 7 points of damage as it kind of washes you up against the wall here. You're basically pinned against the wall until this shadow passes and goes through the stonework. It really aches. Your bones go cold. It's almost hard for you to move, but you do still retain your motor function. Veilman, it's going to be your turn.
Okay, so describe it to me. Is one of them flying right now, you said?
Yes, the south one is flying. Let's see if I can label that somehow.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm just gonna back off here and just fire an arrow at the south one that's flying.
Alrighty.
16.
That'll do it.
1d8 plus 2. 7 damage.
Alrighty, got it. Let's see. Braun, your turn.
Am I still, like, standing and able to cast?
Yeah, you're hurting pretty bad and you're really sore, but you're able to stand and cast.
Okay. I'm gonna move over here, and I'll just focus all my magic missile darts on the North Dragon.
Awesome. 11. Alrighty. Another set of 3 bolts flies from your fingertips, crashing into this dragon. And I'm actually going to need you to roll another 3d6, please. Or 3d4, my bad.
Okay. Oh shit. Didn't type slash roll.
I've done that.
So as these bolts are flying through the air, you see them actually split into 2 and grow larger. And all 6 of them crash into the side of the northernmost dragon, putting even more holes into it. And it shrinks down even more.
It's pretty good.
So the dragon on the southern end of the room, as it's flying around, actually comes and just gets absolutely clobbered by the telescope swinging around this room from the gentleman in the gold robe. The telescope comes to a quick halt as the young man controlling it grounds its staff, and a bright beam of light is being focused through the lens as Magnus completes his spell. The dragon seems to scream and writhe as light melts his shadows, and before long, little remains other than just this blank space on the ground where it's almost as if the shadow was burned into the ground, and it is gone.
Cool.
At the same time, the woman in the white robes grounds her staff once more, and this just heavenly ringing echoes throughout the room. And I'm going to need you each to roll 1d6.
6.
4.
All right, that's going to be how much you're each respectively healed from this spell that she has just released. And let's see.
Relevant if I needed healing, but
Vanek is going to be your turn. What was that?
which would be relevant if I needed healing, but I don't. So
I know what you mean. I still haven't taken damage.
I do have a
La-di-da.
question, actually.
Sure, go for it.
So I went down to 9 hit points, and I had the temporary hit points before that. So my normal hit point maximum is 10. So do I just go back up to 10?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And you lose temporary hit points before you lose any regular hit points.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, again, I'm just gonna kind of run up. This time I'm gonna run up towards the tail, and this thing has been taking swipes at me. So I'm just gonna try and cut off the tail. I'm gonna bring the great sword down and try to lop the tail right off.
Go for it. You're not quite able to make contact with the tail with your great sword. Probably
Damn.
flailing around a bit too much. As you do this, you look back towards the front of the dragon, and you see, unlike before, where it was shadow coming from this thing's mouth, a large arc of blue lightning that is released from its mouth. And this lightning bounces around the room. I'm going to need everyone to make 3 wisdom save or intelligence saving throws.
Oh, man.
Oh no!
Damn it! That's my
Each of
lowest
us make
thing.
3. Each of us make 3, or all
Yeah,
3 of
each
us
of you make 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
14, 11, 11.
Oh man,
Oh
Kevin,
Jesus!
damn. I
All
got
right,
a.
we're going to go in order here by the number of your saving throws. So everyone that rolled beneath a 10 on their first roll is going to take 5 points of damage.
All right.
Anyone that rolled beneath a 10 on their second roll will take an additional 6 points. And below 10 on the third, you're going to take 4 points. And I am pretty certain that Braun is really hurting.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's just a little unconscious.
I'm unconscious. I was unconscious after the second one.
Oh, so wait, do you automatically fail a death saving throw then? Because you got
It was
damage
all on the
after
same
down.
attack. So
Oh, okay, okay.
he'll be okay for this round on death saving throws.
Hmm.
Alrighty. Let's see. So, Vaughn, you failed your first, made your second, and made your third.
Yep.
Let's see. Braun, you failed all 3 with resounding rolls.
Yeah, the
And
negative
I
one
saved
didn't
all
really
3,
make a
actually.
difference.
And Veilman saved all 3 times. So, Veilman, you're able to get out of the way of this lightning, but as you kind of dodge to the side, you see Braun get struck by 3 large arcs of lightning. And you, from across the room in all this commotion, you almost hear his flesh sizzling as he's thrown against the wall into the corner and lies there unmoving. And Veilman, it's going to be your move.
Who's the one who's been casting healing all this time?
There's a woman in a white robe down over here.
Okay, I sort of shout across the room to her, like, "You got him, right?" Like, and I point to Braun.
How am I going to make you save on this? Let's see. I want like a loudness of voice check, but I have no idea what that would be.
I mean, she's 50 feet away. I feel like that's not that hard to shout that loud.
There's a lot going on. I'll say that she hears you. I'll say that your tiefling voice carries nicely across the halls. And she looks at you and she nods. However, there is this dragon in between she and Braun.
I'll take care of the dragon. Dragon's no problem. I'm gonna run up to the dragon, pull out my short swords, and I'm gonna make 2 attacks. First with my dominant hand. That's a crit. And I'm just gonna do the second attack right now too. I crit on both of them. I shit you not. Look at
Nice.
Look at the stream. um, let's see here. So the first one is 2d6 plus 2, 6, 9, 11, and the second one is just 2d6. 5, 8, so 19 points of damage.
Alrighty. So describe this to me.
Um, I see Braun fall limply over to the side, and I feel I am briefly torn about whether or not I should go save my new compatriot, but I figured the best way I could help him is by taking care of this shadowy dragon. So I put my bow away, I grab 2 swords, and I run at him, just flailing my swords wildly, as like spinning in wide arcs as I connect with this thing. It
So
looks
out of
rather
curiosity,
stupid.
I was going to say, is this actually an organized attack, or is this like a flopping fish above the deck of a ship?
It's a precision flopping fish, okay? Like
Gotcha. Okay. It wasn't just an extremely lucky shot. It was somewhat premeditated.
it was premeditated luck.
Alrighty. As you do this, from under the belly of this dragon, Walter kind of does almost an electric slide underneath, dragging his sword under the belly of the dragon, and it screams. It's still standing. It's still very much, well, floating, I suppose. It's still very much present, but it brings its attention towards both you and Walter. Braun, I'm going to need you to make a death saving throw.
All right. So, did I just click on death saves?
Yeah. Alrighty, that's going to be a fail.
So yeah, check one of those failure boxes.
All right.
At the top of this turn, you see Magnus release a fireball from the top of his staff, which absolutely engulfs the back half of this dragon. It tears away the shadows, not as much as you would expect. You would think that the light would just be burning it away, but it does damage, but not quite as much as you would expect. Another arc of lightning flies from one of the mages, circles around the room, and crashes into the left side of the dragon's head, kind of sends it reeling just a little bit. At the same time, a wave of healing light once again floods over the floor, and I'm going to need each of you to roll 1d6.
Including me?
Yes.
All right.
Yay!
Alrighty. So you're going to gain... how low were you exactly?
Like I could be negative.
Do you know how negative?
Healing starts from 0, though.
Oh, that's true. Actually, yeah, that is true. So you are going to be stabilized. You're going to be back at
He should be
2 hit
conscious with
points.
2 hit points.
Yes.
So I'm no longer unconscious.
Correct.
Okay.
And the woman in the white robes does start running over towards Braun. And it's going to be Vanek's turn.
Unfortunately, I can't heal temporary hit points, so that 6 is wasted.
Mm.
But how bad off is this dragon looking now? I mean, it doesn't show any visible damage, right? It just keeps shrinking.
Yeah, I would say it's about half the size as it initially was. About half the size.
Okay. I'm just going to take my great sword, and all the swinging doesn't seem to be working, so I'm just going to take it and try to just plunge it straight into the kind of the chest of this dragon that I'm right in front of.
That'll hit.
Right. 12 damage.
Nice roll. Is that a double 6? Oh, no, that's plus strength. That's right.
Yeah,
Awesome.
4 plus 5 plus 3.
You pierce it straight in the chest and draw it back out, and shadow trails off of the blade of your sword, but it's still standing pretty strong. And let's see, the dragon's turn. So as this dragon is facing Vanek, Valman, and Walter, it's going to just bite out rapidly as you have all impaled it and slashed it and whirlwinded into it with your short swords, I suppose. You guys were quite impressed as Valman brought out the ancient movements of flopping fish goes wild and flies into this dragon. And we're going to go in order from Vanek to Valman to Walter here.
Okay. What? Okay.
Yeah, that hits.
Alrighty. It's going to go and it's going to bite you for 4 points of damage. The second one misses.
Oh, it's 4 points of damage, so that gets reduced to 1.
Yep. And 17 and 10 against you, Valman.
17 hits.
And it comes biting down through your armor for 8 points of damage.
Okay.
Walter is also bit once, and as he gets bit across the chest, you hear the cracking of his ribs. The bite wasn't so bad in and of itself, but you easily hear the cracking of his ribs underneath his armor, and that's going to be the dragon's turn. He's looking pretty rough, but he's still standing. He's kind of holding on to his chest and his abdomen a little bit.
Okay.
Valman, it's going to be your turn.
I'm gonna start circling around the dragon. I'm gonna go left around it, and I'm
Sure.
gonna try to drag my. I'm just gonna try to get behind it. I'm gonna drag my my short sword. I guess in there. I'm gonna drag my short sword in my dominant hand, my right hand, across the dragon as I do it, and as I reach the point where I'm going, I'm gonna try to swing in and stab with my offhand. So I'll make 2 attack rolls here.
Sure.
20.
Natural?
No. 20 and 13.
20 will do it, 13 will not.
Alright, so that's 1d6 plus 2. 7 damage.
Alrighty, 7. And Braun, your turn.
Alright, so I'm going to move a little bit up
Towards the
and
healer.
use my last spell slot again for magic missile.
Nice. You have 3 more bolts of this arcane energy go crashing into the dragon, 2 of which meet straight to its face, literally blowing its head off until it's reformed. Unfortunately, shadow dragons are not anatomically reasonable, and it shrinks down even more.
And then I'll use the rest of my movement to get as close as I can to the healer.
Alrighty. At this point, the healer is going to be able to make her way over to you at the top of the turn here. And she casts a high level lay on hands upon you as soon as she meets you. And I'm pretty sure that'll top you off.
Yeah, it tops me off.
In fact, I'm pretty sure that like 3 of those would have topped you off.
Yeah. I only have 10 hit point max.
As she does this, she reaches out her offhand towards the dragon and releases a ray of light which goes colliding through its chest and out the other side. And that seems to have done quite a number to this dragon. There's now a hole in the dragon that is not regenerating. It is you can see straight through it. Vanek, you can actually see straight through it from chest out its back. And actually, Vanek, it's going to be your turn.
All right, so I'm going to see that hole, and I'm going to just kind of run towards the dragon's chest. So I'll move up a little bit here and just try to like slash across its chest right where the hole is.
Sure, go for it. That'll do.
And I get to re-roll the 1. So I get to re-roll 1d6. So it's
9.
4 plus 2 plus 3. So yeah, 9.
Or what? 9?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, 4
So
plus 2 plus 3.
your blade catches onto this hole, and you realize that as it hits a hole, it doesn't do anything. But as it does catch the shadow, it tears off a little bit more. This slash also does not repair itself.
Oh, I actually get to reroll the 2 also, but we can just say I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't realize the Great Weapon Fighting was a 1 and a 2. Seems kind of OP, but yeah. Now I know.
I'm going to need each of you to make a dexterity saving throw, please.
Oh,
15.
Nice. Oh, Lord.
Rip.
Actually, Braun isn't close enough. So this dragon starts to spin around. It does a full 360, and its tail sweeps under the feet of both of you. It actually knocks Magnus to the ground, however, behind each of you. You're able to stay afoot, and as it finishes its rotation, it's going to make a few bites at Vanek. And this dragon is apparently scared of Vanek as it misses both of its bites towards him. They seem to be getting along fairly well. In fact, Vanek is quite imposing upon this shadow dragon. Let's see. Veilman, your turn.
Well, it's working out okay so far. I'm still behind the dragon. I'm gonna swipe at it twice with my 2 short swords again. 11 and 22 with my offhand.
Offhand will hit.
Yeah, that's just 1d6. 1.
No strength modifier or
Not on
dex
offhand.
modifier to
Not
that
on
damage?
offhand attacks.
Oh, that's right. All right. You hit this dragon for 1 point of damage. You slice its toe, and its toe is gone. You feel quite satisfied.
I yell, "Got him!"
You have now successfully dispatched a toe from this dragon. Braun, your turn.
All right. Just move back over towards the corner a little bit and cast Ray of Frost. There it is.
Oh shit!
Oh, crit fail.
It's not a lucky day for me.
I'm going to need you to roll your damage.
Oh, which one of us does it hit?
Braun, as you kind of stumble over all of this healing and pain leaves you kind of swerving. It's almost dizzying. And you focus on this dragon and you conjure this ray of frost from your hand. I was going to say, I'm going to assume you were aiming for the head or the body. I mean, you could specify if you were aiming at the tail, but...
Yeah, I was aiming for the body.
Damn it.
this ray of frost, as you kind of sway and start to tip over, Vanek, it hits you in the shoulder, and it freezes a portion of your armor stiff. And you're going to end up taking 5 points of damage from this ray of frost.
And your speed is reduced by 10 feet.
Oh.
You're welcome.
Wonderful.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better.
Nice shot!
I'm not an advanced student, okay?
As this is going on, and I don't have tokens for this, so you're going to have to go with it. This, actually, give me 1 second. So as this is going on and you're hit by this attack, the gentleman which had held you in place earlier, Veilman, has finished a large spell that he was casting, and amidst the room is conjured a number of these ethereal skeletons around the dragon.
Necromancer.
And they start slashing away at him with reckless abandon. A solid amount of shadow comes off of this dragon, but it's still standing. It is going to be your turn, Vanek.
All right. So let me. Okay, this is only like a 10. Okay. I'm going to move up towards its hind leg, and I'm just going to attempt to, as I'm kind of running across, I'm just going to attempt to kind of like cleave its legs off.
Go for it. 13's not going to do it. And I'm going to need you to make a dexterity saving throw, please.
Damn.
As you go to cleave the dragon's leg, it swings forward before you were expecting to complete your slash and collides with your body. It's going to knock you back a bit, and I'm going to need to roll for damage. That's going to be 2, but it's going to be bludgeoning damage, so it's going to be 0.
Yep.
Man, heavy armor master, OP. And
Yeah, that's pretty OP. Kind of wish I took that on my paladin. Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. You're going to be knocked back 10 feet, so if you could do that for me, because you're kind of under a dragon, I would appreciate it.
Okay. 10 feet, so that puts it right about here. I'm assuming just straight back, like towards the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. There we go.
And that's going to be kind of lucky for you, because I'm going to need Veilman to make a dexterity saving throw as well.
Okay. 10.
10 will do it, just barely.
Really?
No, it goes to the attacker. Yeah, it was a DC 10, so it's going to go to the attacker.
Well,
The dragon kind of
technically,
Sure.
it's like because I'm rolling against target. I think that usually saves. Like if it's a tie for armor class, I think that usually goes to attacker. But I mean, it's up to you. I'm getting technical.
that does sound right. I'll go ahead and give it to you. This dragon's going to sweep around, and I need to make some dex saving throws as well.
So I think
boy.
it's the person who's initiating the action. I think always gets the tie, and since I was saving against his AOE thing, I think that's me doing the action.
That's that. I can roll with it. I like it. As the dragon's tail sweeps around, three of the skeletons are just knocked into just scattered bones, as well as Walter is knocked back a bit, and he's knocked onto his back, and he's no longer moving. He's breathing, but not actively moving. The dragon's also going to take a couple bites at you. 13 and a 16.
Both hit. This is not gonna be fun for me.
Going to be 8 points of damage total.
Okay. I'm bloodied.
And as this dragon kind of brings down, and the first chomp hurts more than the second, but the second one, it doesn't even release its jaws. It just kind of clamps down on you harder. It releases you from its grasp only after a third bolt of lightning comes crashing into its side, in which the dragon is actually knocked over to the farther aspect of the room. And it's going to be Braun's turn.
All right.
Wait, did I
it also
skip?
does. Sorry, did you? Yes, you did. I'm sorry. You're
okay.
Absolutely right. And the dragon does shrink down a bit more.
I'm gonna slide this way a little bit and pull my bow and arrow back out and launch a shot at it since it's far away now. 18.
That'll hit.
There's my D8. 8 points of damage.
Alrighty. This dragon's looking really bad, guys. Braun, it's now going to be your turn.
All right. So at the start of my turn, the speed reduction on Vanek goes away. And move over here and cast Ray of Frost again.
11's not going to hit.
All right.
Alrighty, that's okay. As your ray of frost soars overhead, you see this large molten rock come crashing down from overhead on the dragon as Magnus brings his staff back to the ground. And the dragon is basically incapacitated. It's still writhing a little bit, but it shrinks down even more. It's just about a little bit smaller than you guys. We're going to say about 4 or 5 feet. We'll say 8 feet from head to tip of tail. And it's not actually going to be able to move. It's kind of writhing there.
Okay.
Top of the turn, Vanek, it's going to be your turn.
All right, so I'm gonna move up side dragon, and I'm just gonna take the great sword and just kind of like stab down into the dragon.
With advantage. You guys see Vanek run over, and he looks like a kid in a candy shop. He runs over to this dragon, and he takes his greatsword, and he tries to pierce the dragon, and it rises one way, and he tries to pierce it again, and it rises to the other way, and his blade just keeps bouncing off of the ground as he fails to attempt to pierce this dragon. I'm going to need you, however, to make a Constitution saving throw. Yep, that'll do. You notice that as you stand next to this dragon, the shadow is starting to bleed away from it and rise into the air. And you breathe just a little bit of it in, and it stings the back of your throat, but you're able to draw yourself away before breathing anymore. Veilman, it's going to be your turn.
So there's like shadow rising on it. You said it's like kind of evaporating off, or
Correct.
do I see a cat in there at all?
You actually do. You do see in. Oh, shoot. Within this dragon, you do see the form of a small cat within it.
I'm gonna come up, and I'd like to attempt an animal handling check to calm it down.
Okay, go ahead and roll for it.
5.
How are you trying to calm down this cat?
And we're like, hey kitty, there's more pastries downstairs. And I think I'm like, I don't know. Probably with a 5, I'm not being very soothing at all. I'm kind of yelling at its face, maybe.
You got a little bit of tinnitus, and you're speaking louder than you think you are. You're just kind of shouting at this cat, "It's okay, kitty. Pastries downstairs." Yeah, you're just kind of shouting at it. It's still kind of writhing about. It looks like it's in a little bit of pain, but the dragon encompassing it looks worse. Braun, it's going to be your turn.
All right. Remembering how the cat knocked me unconscious a little bit ago, I don't give a shit about trying to calm it down. And I try to ray of frost him right in the face.
And here comes the crit fail. Oh, I was going to say, with 2 people right in front of him. All right, go ahead and roll for damage.
Oh boy.
Got him.
A single shard of ice flies from your hand and tears through this dragon, making the smallest possible laceration across its cheek, a single tear falling from its eye.
This is tragic.
Vanek, it's going to be your turn.
I kind of just like look down and embarrassed in front of Magnus and all my colleagues.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of try to calm down the cat. Just like maybe even reach out since I'm right up beside it. Try to like maybe like pet it a little bit, like scratch its ear, and just like say it's okay, kitty.
Go ahead and make an animal handling check. Okay, and you're trying to pet the cat?
Yeah.
Make a con saving throw.
Damn it. Damn it.
You pet the cat and the shadows dissipate, but they start to climb up your arm and they burn your left arm severely. You take 8 points of damage from this as it just sinks into your arm and it hurts.
All right, cat has to die. Sorry.
The cat actually, as the shadows kind of melt away, the dragon is gone and the cat is just kind of sitting here and it's now got its tail in its paw and it's just kind of licking its tail a little bit and it looks kind of sad, it looks hurt, and you see that the tip of this cat's tail is just a little bit swollen after being stepped on, and it licks its tail and kind of curls down with its tail under its chest and looks up at you, Vanek, and goes, meow.
So the shadows completely dissipated.
What armor are you wearing, actually?
Me, chainmail.
Yeah, the shadow, you no longer see it around your arm.
That doesn't sound good. Do I sense any of the shadow anywhere around me or on me or anything of the sort?
As you look over yourself, you don't see it, but underneath your left sleeve of chainmail, your arm has been, it almost looks closer to a tattoo than a burn of this shadow, which actually it still writhes and moves on your arm, but it runs from the tips of your fingers up your arm about halfway up past your elbow, like between your elbow and your shoulder. And it's just this shadow that actively moves. It doesn't hurt, but it kind of squirms about as you look at it.
So is it like is it like ethereal, or can I like actually like tear it off, try to attempt to remove this shadow? Like, what is there anything I can actually do about it?
It's not. I don't want to say it's not tangible. It'd basically be like touching a tattoo. You can touch it, but you
Right.
couldn't tear it off.
Do I see this happening?
Yes. Well, unless Vanek is being super sneaky about his.
Oh no, I'm kind of freaking out a little bit. Like, what the fuck is on my arm, guys? Like, what is this?
I pull out my water skin. I try to like rinse it and see if that has any effect on it.
As you pour your water skin out, one of the flowers actually falls upon his arm. And as the flower touches this mark, it instantly wilts and turns to ash as it falls to the floor.
Well, that's not looking great, buddy. You might be in trouble. Want me to cut it off? I can cut it off.
No.
I'd rather keep it. I'd rather thanks for the offer. I mean, it kind of looks cool. It may just be part of me now. I mean, I'm
some
all
dope
right
body
with it.
art, but I can cut it off.
I literally listened to that episode yesterday. No, we are not Crystal Kingdoming. Actually, if you want to, we could. I just think it's funny.
I'm good. I've made peace with it. I think we're done here, guys. We can go. Like we.
So you guys are in this room, which is absolutely thrashed. We have a scorch mark of one dragon. We have nearly a dozen students, which are unconscious or pretty wounded. About a dozen absolutely exhausted mages. One very battered telescope, and floor, which is questionably stable beneath you. What are we doing?
I pull out my mess kit and I pour a bowl of water for the cat.
The cat begins to drink the water happily.
All right, well, unless someone can do something about this guy's arm, I think we're done here.
Yeah, can I like look around at some of the mages, like maybe walk up to Magnus and be like, yeah, so is there anything you can do about this? Like, is this am I just stuck with this now? Like, what's going on here?
he looks at your arm and he kind of ponders it for a second, and he looks at you and he says, "That is no magic that I know of. However, I am only versed in the magics of wizardry. You might talk to Carrie about that later."
I'm assuming Carrie's the healing one.
That would be very intuitive.
So where is she in the room?
That's that one, I think, right?
Yes, she is on the
Yeah.
eastern side. She's actually kind of tending to some of the students, which are totally unconscious.
And there's no shadow on the cat, right?
Nope.
I pet the cat while it's drinking water.
It actually kind of climbs up your arm, maybe with a little bit too much claw action, and it kind of just sits on your shoulder and licks the side of your face.
It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna claim my 100 gold.
Vanek, let's go ahead and resolve
Yeah.
your arc here.
All right, so I'm gonna go over to Carrie and just ask her, like, do you know what this mark is? Like, I tried to pet the cat, wanted to calm it down. Shadow kind of, I don't know, crawled up my arm. I'm kind of freaking out a little bit. I really don't know what's going on. Can you help me out here?
As she looks at it, she looks not scared, but not amused, kind of a mix between. She looks at it and she says, "How did you acquire this?"
I mean, I tried to pet the cat. Like, thought it was the right thing to do, and obviously not. So
She reaches out and touches your palm ever so delicately, and just as she does, you can see her skin almost start to melt away ever so slightly. She just barely touches your hand, and it looks as if it's damaging her as she was touching it, and she quickly draws her hand back.
whoa, okay. So really just out of some morbid curiosity, I take my other hand and like try to kind of touch it and feel it and see if it'll damage me in the same way.
Oh my goodness, I have no idea how that would work. Holy cow, I don't think I've ever heard of anyone trying to do that. I'm going to need you to roll 1d8.
All right.
As you touch your own hand, I guess. That's so weird. I'm going to go ahead and go through with this, even though I'm going to have to really think on the mechanics of that, 'cause that's really odd. You almost feel, it feels like how it feels opposite of how you felt when you were healed by Carrie earlier. You almost feel the life draining from you, from your other hand.
So what you're saying is he takes 2 necrotic damage.
Yeah,
But then
yes.
But if I deal 2 necrotic damage, do I heal for 2?
Not all necrotic damage is lifesteal, so.
I think you just kind of, it's like the equivalent of high-fiving yourself in the face. Like, I think it's just kind of a self-inflicted wound, but I don't think 2 health is going to really do much to you right now.
Nah.
So, but she explains to you that it appears that your hand has been cursed. Or maybe it's blessed, depending on how you look at it.
Oh, okay. Well, is there anything you can do about that? I mean, can we remove this curse? Like, what options do we have here? Am I just stuck with this thing?
She raises her hands once again to cast Lay on Hands, or the equivalent of 5th edition on your hand. And as she starts emitting healing magic towards it, it starts to crackle, and you can feel a physical disturbance in between the magic that is currently on your hand and that of which is coming from hers, and you feel no effect on your arm.
So I'm guessing that's a no. Seemed like you just tried to do something. I'm not really versed in magic, but doesn't appear to have worked. Still in my arm.
She shakes her head at you and she says, "There's nothing I can do. It's almost as if your hand is permanently trying to hurt everything it touches. It's counteracting every little bit of healing I pour into it. I don't understand." She looks at you and she says, "I've heard of people using a spell similar to this. However, it's greatly frowned upon. It's it's a common spell used by those who wield magic for less savory. It's for people that use magic for evil, is what I'm trying to tell you."
Okay, and I'm listening. I'm like listening to this conversation. I'm like, all right, let's go talk to Clyde. I think he's got some answering to do.
Are you guys exiting?
So what type of magic is it? Would you happen to know? Maybe if I know the name of the spell used, I can find more information about this.
Give me 1 second. I have to pull out my DMG or my PHB.
Because if it's vampiric touch, that would be.
And suddenly you are a vampire. No,
Yes.
that would be interesting.
I mean, I knew the sun hurt me for a reason earlier. It wasn't those berries; they were fine.
I didn't think anyone would ever try to high five themselves.
To be fair, he more or less poked himself.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to look into it more. It's the spell that's the opposite of cure wounds. I think it's just called cause wounds. But she explains to you that your hand is permanently imbued with this spell.
Inflict wound.
Inflict wounds. That sounds about right.
Yeah. First level necromancy. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I guess I kind of have to live with this. So I'll just start to kind of wrap my hand back up, like put on my glove, sort of kind of wrap my arm back, and that way I'm not accidentally touching anything I don't intend to. If I go to use the
After he put gloves on, I poke his hand. Let's see if it does anything to me.
Oh, you want to touch it? So I take my glove off and like kind of push it towards him, like kind of act like I'm going to touch his face, like I'm not touching you, like.
I back up a little bit.
When you poke it through the glove, it actually doesn't do anything.
All right. Just make sure anytime you're with the ladies from now on, you keep your gloves on.
Yeah, or if I have to, relieve myself.
That too. Just to be safe, I would always use the other hand for that particular purpose.
I take it you guys are going back down to the ground floor.
I mean, yeah, I think so.
So you make your way back down to the third floor, and except these people aren't here. The room is empty, and it looks completely undisturbed from before. Everything's completely quiet. You make your way back down to the second floor, and people are still here studying, seemingly undisturbed, pretty much as you left it. And you make your way back down to the ground floor. And similar to before, everything else is as it was, except nobody's in the library now. Dewey is the only one in the library, and the doors out to the courtyard are locked.
I still got the cat like chilling on my shoulder. Yeah.
Yep, it's with you.
I wave to Dewey. Hello. Check out my cat.
He sees the cat on your shoulder and he backs away and kind of pins himself into the corner of the desk here, and he's like, "What? I don't understand. Get it out!"
All right. It's like I start wandering away. It's my cat now.
You walk out the front door, and There's a number of students gathered in the courtyard, about the middle of the courtyard over here, and they're all looking up at the top of the observatory.
All right.
As you look up, you see the observatory is all but shattered. It's smoking. The walls are falling apart, but the rest of the building is seemingly undamaged. Um, Everyone's just kind of staring at the observatory as these three strangers, well, two strangers and one student to the guild, walk past with a cat resting on your head.
I look up and say, don't worry, that'll buff right out. Let's keep going.
You don't even stop. You just keep walking. You kind of shuffle your way through the crowd and you make your way back into the building up here. And as you enter, Clyde is still arguing with Robin about the sale of this sword.
And I turn to Robin and say, yeah, that shit's definitely cursed. You probably don't want that.
I
He
kind of
looks-
take my glove off and show her, like, yeah, everything he has is cursed.
She kind of looks at you initially, Valman, and she starts to say, well, what would make you say, and then she looks at Vanek and she sees this arm and she looks at you and she kind of smirks and she says, nice tattoo.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Clyde looks at
Want
you
to
and
touch
sees,
it?
he sees this cat on your head and he doesn't even really turn away from the counter, and all he does is he kind of fluffs up his hood and gestures for you to put the cat in his hood.
I don't think I'm going to give you this cat right now. Why don't you tell us about where you got the cat from?
He turns to you and looks at his cat, who's kind of stretching over your head, paws to either side, kind of covering your ears. And he looks at you and he says, well, that cat's been with me since I was a child. In fact, it's the first familiar I ever summoned.
Can I roll an insight check on that?
Sure.
Critical fail.
Does anyone else want to try? I'll give each of you an insight check.
Yeah, I'll try.
You're fairly certain that he's telling the truth. He is a mage, and the cat was acting as his familiar earlier.
Okay. Well, there's some things about your cat.
He looks at it, and as you're saying this, he tosses each of you a pouch a little larger than your fist, which claps against your chest, and you're able to catch before it falls to the floor.
I'm assuming there's 100 gold pieces inside.
Correct. Each.
I'm going to look at him. Would you happen to know anything about this? Kind of show him my hand.
He looks at your arm, and he says, oh, well, it looks like you've got a new gift.
Gift? I can't touch anything with it.
Yeah, you can't touch anything, or some people can't touch you. I mean, some people would love to have that. And he looks at the other two of you and he says, I would be careful as I venture around with him in the future. It seems that he's got a little bit of a affliction.
I think after he says gift, I ask, gift from whom?
He explains to you and he says, well, you see, my cat, whenever they're disturbed, like I think I mentioned before, they're quick to defend themselves, and part of that is by assuming a shape of shadow. If you go touching it, it can be bad for your health. We'll just say that, but it's along the lines of necromancy. And he grins and shows you once again his just this kind of wicked grin. And he also, similar to the man before, has somewhat sharpened and yellowed teeth.
So, I'm like, you necromancers don't have a dental plan, I guess?
He grins and he says, everything falls apart after a few hundred years and perhaps a few lifetimes.
Well, I'm getting the distinct impression this dude's evil as shit, but he paid me, and this is his cat, so I'm ready to give it back to him.
You go ahead and put the cat in the back of his hood, and the cat curls up into a ball and starts purring as it near instantly falls asleep after a large yawn. And as you put it back in his hood, he grins once again and gives each of you another pouch about half the size of before, containing 50 gold each.
At this point, I'm like, he gave me more gold for no reason. It's starting to feel a bit like a bribe.
He looks at you and he says, "So, where did my nice cat run off to?"
You know, places.
He goes and he steps out and looks into the courtyard and sees the students there, and he looks up and he sees the observatory that is in absolute shambles, and he slowly backs up through the door to the courtyard and closes it very quietly, and he turns around and walks out the building.
Before he goes, I'm like,
So-
as he's like looking out there, I'm like, they're probably gonna want you to pay for that.
Before he goes, because you said he was still bartering with the lady there, right?
Correct.
So I'm gonna say, you know what? I think I have a better gift in mind. I'm gonna hand him his gold back and just picked up the curse blade.
He actually left it there as he walked out.
All right, well then I'm pocketing the gold and picking up the curse blade, or I'll give the gold to the. I'll give the 50 gold to the lady at the counter. Say, I'll take this off your hand.
Sure, you go ahead and you toss her 50 gold, and she looks like she wants nothing to do with the sword or your newly acquired tattoo or the cat or anything. And she kind of just backs away from the counter and turns to the back wall and starts adjusting the wares and dusting things off. And that's going to be the end of your guys' adventure. If you guys want to do any character management afterwards, purchasing of potions or anything, I can absolutely do that with you. This adventure, so overall in total, you're all going to receive your 150 gold. Vanek's going to be throwing back 50. I'll talk with you about your sword later. You're all going to level up to level 2. I do XP a little bit differently. You would imagine that killing a dragon would boost you up more. I cap levels at 1 level per session for one shots. Otherwise, this would probably throw you to like 5th level.
Right.
So you're all going to move up to level 2. And, I'm also going to do hit points with you guys because while I am... Oh, actually, I guess you and I, or you've been doing HP the same way too. Yeah, I do hit points a little bit differently. I let you roll for your hit points, and then I also roll here at home, and you get to choose if you want your roll or my roll. So if you guys want to do that, let's go ahead and do it.
Okay, so that's a D10 for me. Where is that? I rolled a 6, so I'll be keeping that. I'll be adding 8.
Are you curious to know?
Wait.
Do you want to know what I got or no?
Yeah, sure, why not?
No,
I
I
also
need
got
to
a
roll.
6. So
wait.
we're good.
Am I supposed to roll a D10 or?
I want to roll one.
It's based on your class.
I think it's a D6.
For you, I believe it is a D6.
Yeah. Okay. I got 2 then.
Alrighty. So
I clicked the
do you
wrong
want
thing.
your roll or do you want my roll?
I'm going to take your roll in both circumstances because I rolled a 4 both times. I rolled it with just the hit dice and actually rolled one separate D10.
Kevin, do you want yours or mine?
Let's try yours.
All right, I got a 3. So go ahead and add 3 plus your con modifier to your health. And let's go ahead and let me find my D10 here. Yeah, D10 for you? Yeah. All right, cool. You got a 4. And do you want yours or mine?
Yours.
That is a 7.
All right, so 7 plus 3. 10. 23.
Alrighty. I'm not going to just instantly write you guys out. If you guys do want to look around at purchasing potions, I can do that for you guys. If not, feel free to bounce out of here and go about your merry Saturday.
How much is a healing potion?
I think they're 50 on the items table, correct? Does anyone remember?
All right, I'm going to grab.
And you said they were
since I
half
threw-
price here.
They're 25 here, yeah. Everything here is half priced on that shelf.
All right, since I threw her 50, I'm going to take one or 2.
Okay.
Yeah, you said half price. Yeah.
And you
Um,
can
I
you can
I'm
find that in the items page. I think it's 2d4 plus something. I don't know. It's in the PHP.
Okay.
I'm gonna
I'm
pick up
looking
2
for
of those healing potions.
okay. I'm looking for potions with the coolest effects on them. Like I like it doesn't even have to be something useful. It could be something random like that.
Hold on, I'm thumbing through my DMG real quick. Okay, I'm going to read some out kind of as I go, and you can
Okay.
ask me about each one. Any of you guys can chime in. I mean, you all have money. So we're going to go in alphabetical order. We have a potion of clairvoyance, a potion of flying. We have a potion of growth. We have a potion of mind reading. There's one small vial of just plain poison. And we have a potion of resistance. And there's 3 of each of these.
I'm thinking of I want more details on the clairvoyance and mind reading.
When you drink this potion, clairvoyance, you gain the effects of the clairvoyance spell. An eyeball bobs in this yellowish liquid but vanishes as a potion is opened. It's just like Adventure Zone, how you can
Right, yeah,
basically see through. Yeah. The mind reading, let me go ahead and pull that up. When you drink this potion, you gain the effects of Detect Thoughts spell with a save DC 13. The potion is of dense purple liquid and has a cloud of pink floating within it.
How much do they cost?
The potion of mind reading is. Hold on, give me 1 second. They are each 75 gold.
And the clairvoyance?
Yeah, they're both
Oh,
75
okay.
gold. Sorry.
Yeah, fuck, I'll grab one of each of those.
Sure, go ahead and add them. If you want for your notes, it's page 187 and 188 in the DMG.
Okay.
What about the rest of you guys?
I'm good. I'm just gonna keep the rest of my gold.
Yeah, I'm good. I just there's 2 potions of healing. That's all I need.
Awesome. Yep. Just make sure to go ahead and mark those down. So next time you end up playing these characters, you remember that you have them. Just as a little bit of a wrap up for the adventure, like I said, this adventure is a fun fact. You guys did actually above average damage for that encounter. You guys dealt 44% of the damage to that dragon. I actually have pre-rolled damage for all of the mages and their spells and whatnot. So you guys did really well in that fight. Let's see. I'm going to do a little bit of recapping, just so explain the adventure a bit more behind the basically behind closed doors, just for your guys' amusement, I guess. Let's see. So the courtyard here on the first floor, the dolphins have berries, and I'm not going to let you retcon this, just so you know. That's what I'm telling you. You're still going to have your berries from those. The bull topiary has berries of strength, spider, dexterity, boar, constitution, dolphins, intelligence, and wisdom, respectively, and horse charisma. The shed to the right side of the building is actually a blacksmith's workshop, which you could have gone and gained basic equipment from and such.
Damn, that would have been good.
The small room over here is a storage area for additional food. There was nothing in there. You guys could have opened up the door with a DC 12 sleight of hand check if any of you guys were rogues, which you weren't. Let's see. Oh, and the bushes just give you resistance to fire damage when consumed. So I'm pretty sure you figured that one out.
Yep.
Second floor. Oh, let me move you guys real quick. Second floor, you guys actually did everything as expected. Cat runs up, goes from the tables, jumps up, knocks over bookshelves. You guys got annihilated by books on this floor. You guys got absolutely destroyed by books on that floor. Amusingly enough, Of the 3 times I've DM'd this adventure, twice people have walked up in that room and shouted, and both times that they've shouted have been crit by a book. It actually
These are some
Abby's
really interesting and weird meta statistics you're tracking here, but I like it.
Abby's I like numbers. Abby's little sister did the same thing, and she's a freshman in high school, so she's awful loud. And she walked in, did the same thing, and she was playing a ranger, and she had no con modifier. Her first her first level
It just chunked her
was
for
10,
yeah.
and it actually knocked her unconscious. She got crit by the book and got knocked unconscious.
Where'd she take
She
the rest of the damage
specifically
from?
it was a D6 crit, 12.
Oh,
And so it was a max damage roll,
okay.
and she got knocked out by that. She specifically said, as I walk up the stairs, kind of like you did, where you're like, okay, keeping to the trend, as she said, as I'm going to walk up the stairs, I'm going to shout, has anyone seen a cat? And as soon as she went up, she got crit by this book. And was knocked unconscious. It was pretty good. She also, after she woke back up, she tried to set a bear trap on the staircase.
As you do.
And she actually had one of the other guards in the facility walk down and get ensnared in this trap, which was also great. Third floor. Third floor was the meeting room. This could have gotten really bad for you guys if you had been like just audaciously rude. You were hit with a very weak hold person spell.
Right.
Other than that, the cat basically was just here to make a mess. And then the fourth floor, which has so much numbers and rolling behind the screen for it, is disgusting. Yeah, you guys did almost half of the damage to the dragon. We had 4 students get knocked unconscious. The other ones, most of their turns were spent cowering in fear. 2 dragons down. Spell damage by the other mages was actually pretty pitiful this time around. However, Magnus did crit on his 3-turn channel, which brought the ray of sun down through the telescope and melted away that dragon, which got rid of the first one. You guys dispatched the other one. Walter Brock was also knocked unconscious. Other than that, I think you guys hit just about everything. It was a pretty good playthrough. Very creative. Yeah. Any questions that I can answer for you guys out of curiosity?
I'm sad I didn't spend more time picking berries.
Yeah, those berries are actually pretty cool. And I don't think any of you guys are ever going to play this again. So just fun fact: if you were to take all the berries and go and later have them mixed into a potion, then the potion would actually give you +1 to any of the stats of your choice permanently.
Wow.
But of the 3 times I've also DM'd it, no one has collected all of the berries. So
opportunity lost for me.
So what happens if you just eat a lot of the berries? What was the effect that it had on me?
So actually, they each had different effects for the more that you consumed. So the intelligence and wisdom ones basically just strained the heck out of your mind, giving you that bit of a migraine sense. The bowl one would have basically tore your. Have you ever gone to the gym and like tore your muscles pretty good, and it just really sharp pain for like a week or 2 afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically the same thing. The horse one would have basically made you have disadvantage on any charisma checks I had you make, which I don't think you guys made any this time. Oh, you did make one for Derek.
No, we've made a couple persuasion checks.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I would have rolled disadvantage for you behind the screen. Spider one, you basically would have been stumbling around like a drunk fool. Basically, it instead of adding.
Oh man, I missed out on so many good opportunities here.
Yeah, if you guys ate the berries, I was giving you just a straight +1 modifier, not a +1 to stat, but a +1 modifier to each of your stats for the time being. They lasted a couple minutes each, and the boar, the positive constitution would have just made you more sickly and basically, I mean, if you walk around sick in public, people look at you kind of weird and don't want to be around you. Yeah, but if you mix the berries, you would have got a really sweet potion. Yeah. So the books on the bottom floor were reference books. Great use of those, by the way.
Yeah, this one, like, I was really, I given that I knew nothing about this adventure going into it, it worked out. The character I created was like actually pretty well fit for it. Like, with my affinity towards picking berries and grabbing books and just sitting around satisfying my curiosity. I think that was it was a really good showcase for this character that I just made last night.
Yeah,
So
it's really good for druids, rangers, and then anyone that wields magic. Spare clerics. Clerics are kind of out of style here, I guess. The second floor had books which you guys could have actually pulled spells from if you were to go reading in them a bit. I have a table which I roll random wizard, sorcerer, and clerical spells from. The third floor, if you were to look in those books, those were like some crazy books, like along the lines of the Necronomicon. You guys could have got into them, but it's basically a wild magic table in which you guys would have. I mean, you can have anything from the room fills with squirrels to your. It's basically the effects of an intellect devourer where you go totally brain dead. I mean, it's generally a good thing that you don't touch those books. On the flip side, there's also some very ancient spell books in there which you guys could have got access to, which have very high level spells in them. So yeah, there's that. Yeah. Any more questions? Any curiosity things of what this did, what that did?
no, I think I'm good.
Yep.
Cool. Anyone have any questions about character updates? I guess Yvonne and I are going to sit down for a bit and talk about some of the stuff with his character. I think the other two, you guys are pretty good to go unless there's anything else you need that I can fill out for you. I'll also be around today in case you want to shoot me a message or anything.
All right. You set up a really good lead for a campaign here. But I don't know how and when we're gonna revisit this, given that we're gonna get
This
more
one
dragons at
actually
some point.
doesn't fit into my campaign that I run. This adventure I use solely for first time players of D&D. And what I really try to do with it is, because this place is so rich with opportunity, I try to give everyone a little bit of a backstory that they can kind of run with. For example, what I really try to work in is your ranger. Your ranger obviously has, I mean, visiting the Mages Guild, you've encountered a lot of cool new plants. You've now made friends with a cat, which you can tell people about. Like you've got a ground that
Right.
you can tell stories off of in farther adventures. Vaughn, you're freaking littered with crap. And Kyle,
Kevin.
right?
Kevin.
Kevin, sorry.
Sorry.
If you choose to use it, but of course, by no means you never have to use any of this. You now have the backstory of being an apprentice at the Mages Guild of Silverwolf, which in my adventures will have an effect on stuff. Other adventures, not so much unless you go explaining it to your DM. But you all have something now that your basic characters have history
So
wise
basically,
behind them.
you've made this adventure not for the sake of starting a story. You leave loose ends here, not for the sake of starting a story so much as it's a character development thing, so people who play can go and take these characters and bring them to their groups and play those characters. Is
Yep,
that
it's basically the start of your story.
okay? That's cool. I like that.
That's cool.
I just quickly threw this character together because I thought it'd be a fun little thing to play for one session, but how it went, I would be excited to go play this character again. So yeah,
This is the first character I've actually created and played. First time I played D&D was last weekend with the other one-off.
But
So it's
I
pretty
was
helpful
very
for
much in
me
control
to
of that. So
give me
yeah.
ideas and stuff.
Yeah,
I was a total noob myself.
you definitely picked a tough class to start with. I'm going to give you that, but I'm glad that you're enjoying it thus far.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys don't need anything else, feel free to clear out. Enjoy your weekend. Vaughn, stick around for a bit. I'll explain some stuff to you.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
Yeah, I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna stop the